Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round one of the Thermaltake Sprint Series here at Paul Ricard for Split Yellow. I hope everyone's had a lovely little break, got some time off sim racing, but they're ready to get back into it. We've got, I think it's an hour of driving around Paul Ricard tonight, one fixed fuel stop, so that'll throw in a little bit of extra strategy, and I'm joined by the wonderful Matt Madden. Matt, how you going tonight?
Good evening, mate. Very, very well. Squires, Mr. Squires, or Squirrels, as I often hear, is thrown around in the OOR world, mate. I'm fantastic. It is a Wednesday night, not the usual night that I've been bumping my gums on the commentary, but it's good to get a bit of a change up on the sprints this season with you. Very much looking forward to it, particularly with the class of drivers that we've got in this session. We have a lot of pros in this compared to some of the other splits, so I'm really looking forward to some quite pacey driving here at Paul Ricard, famously one of the longest straights in motor racing. 1.8 kilometers of sitting down, checking your phone, looking around you, call your friends. It's a long way to be going in a dead straight line at the back. Where's your headspace at in terms of this track? Are you a lover or a hater?
Oh, look, I drive the Mustang, so it'd kind of be sacrilege for me to say that I don't like it, because it is absolutely hilarious to just drive fast people down the straight. But I know quite a few people who aren't fans of the track for that exact reason. So I'm going to go around a sort of A tier on my sort of tier list for this track. And it maybe is lacking a little bit of variety. Like in the F1 cars, they do have a chicane in the middle of the straight to break it up, but we don't run that layout in the GT3. So yeah, like you said, it's just a time that you can sit, check your phone, just kind of do whatever while you just go down the straight.
I think this could be the only track where you could ever do a solo 24-hour. All you need is a bad idea and a brick, and then you have enough time to run to the loo, make a meal, everything on that back straight. It's but it's not the worst track in my opinion. I quite like the sector 1 and 3. I think really separates quite a lot of the cars. So even though the Mustang is super OP on the straights, cars like the Aston and the McLaren can really make up a lot of time with their super high downforce setups for this track. And you and I are going to be racing this as well on Thursday night. So I'm going to selfishly be spending a bit of time actually watching the strategies of all these drivers as they come through, particularly the guys up the top of the pack here, to see what works, what doesn't work, who wins and who comes out on top, whether undercut or overcuts are the play. Have you given much thought to that side of it?
Yeah, I have. I've been discussing with the boys that I race with about strategies and stuff, because although it does have a long straight, that sector 3 is quite punishing on the tyres, especially in the Ford. It basically heats up the entire left side of the tyres, or the side of the car, for pretty much the entire lap. So after 30-45 minutes of yellow tyres, it's definitely gonna maybe influence some people to swap them out, but that's where we might see some difference in car strengths and weaknesses, like you said, especially in that technical third sector. You might see some of the cars that might not have the raw pace, but are able to conserve the tyres a little bit more and have a better race pace over the entire stint.
Yeah, too right. And the fact that we're in the Thermaltake Sprint Series this season, so every race is going to have different pit requirements and everything, as we see the oversteer, steer left to go right sort of side there of the car that's qualifying. Mate, we've got the fact that you only have to take mandatory fuel in this pit stop. There's no requirement for tyres, so it puts your pit stop somewhere to the tune of 25, 27 seconds, whereas tyres are that extra 5 seconds. So I think we'll see some interesting moves, some people looking to try and make up those times with some fresh tyres as they come out of the pits. And now we've just had the fastest lap from Paul Britt. You're going to know a lot of these sprint drivers that I haven't had the exposure to, doing a lot of the enduro stuff and the GT4 and Porsche Cup series as well. What sort of lap times are we looking at here for the front runners in pro, and then sort of the silver guys as well? And also, where are you sitting?
Well, actually, last time I raced against Paul Britt was in Split Yellow at this, well, it was one of the races during the season at this track. So I know he's got a decent bit of pace here. He was in the McLaren last time I drove against him around here. So I'd expect some pretty good times from him, as he's been a fairly quick driver over his history at OOR. However, I think he's had a few seasons off, so I would expect maybe a high 52 from Britty. But I think he's going to be fairly clear out in the lead unless Lucas decides to come out. But I think he might be doing a little start from the back strategy. So I'd expect Lucas to be, that could go either way. But I'd expect Lucas to be maybe a little bit quicker than Paul. But like I said, we haven't seen him for a little while here. So if he can nail the rest of this lap that we're just looking at, he will grab a 52 and he'll be the first one to do that in the lobby, as we see Lucas here just kind of driving around. I don't know if this is I don't think this is a real lap. I think he's invalidating quite a few of these, whether that's on purpose or not. But if he does put a lap in, I think it'll be pretty close between these two front guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to get a look at some new liveries for this season, which is always one of my favourite things to pour into. This is quite a tidy little, I would say a nod to the classics from Paul Britt here. We did just see what I'm going to affectionately start calling the whoop whoop livery of Saxon Hayes. Whoop whoop, it's the sound of the police. No, I won't sing it. But yeah, it's actually quite a good little one. Saxon sent us a photo of his time. He was just in Japan not too long ago, and he had seen some GTR spec looking cop cars. So I love to see that he's brought this into this series. I think he's run this one quite a few times before, but it's a fantastic look here as well. And we're starting to see some other ones, all sporting Thermaltake liveries, which is absolutely fantastic, sitting there on the rear wing, paying a bit of ode to the sponsors of the season here. We've got an Osprey one as well. This is quite tidy, of Blake Griffiths. She's not running the Brat car this season, which is, I mean, I'm glad to see her in something else, but Brat Summer, which was apparently our winter, is now over. So we've moved on. Blake, for what it's worth, I'm happy. I like this one more.
Yeah, a little bit surprised to see Blake back in that GTR, because I do remember she ran that a few seasons ago, but I don't think she quite enjoyed the handling characteristics of the boat. But yeah, she's come back to it, so maybe she's found a little bit more pace to continue. As Paul Britt goes off the track, I believe he's gonna jump back to the pits and possibly try go out again. And like I said, yeah, high to possibly mid 52s is what we're looking at for pro times towards the end of the towards the end of the session. Sorry. Yeah, I mean that's what the top guys will be aiming for. I'm probably aiming for just anything in the 52 because that's a pretty good time if you can stitch it together around here. But yeah, I mean Ralphie also 5/10 off the car in P2. He has lost a little bit of time through sign, so he's actually got quite a bit more time in this lap, I reckon, if he can just stitch it together in that Ford.
Yeah, for sure. And as you said, you've got that raw pace of it on the straights. I think we were sort of talking before the commentary kicked off. I think you said you can get it up to 290 with a toe, which for an Aston driver, where I'm kicking it at 278 max, that is some incredible pace that I just wish I had.
He's also using TC off, which is very brave, because the Ford is definitely one of those cars where if you don't treat it with respect, it will absolutely kick your ass. So driving with TC off is something I haven't tried yet.
I'm kind of interested. Benny's on the cameras tonight as usual, putting together this awesome stream. Let's just watch that throttle control over the next couple of corners, because there's no chance that I could do this without ending up facing the wrong way.
Or he's invalid.
He's invalid. Gonski's.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Down a lap.
The car is hard to control here on TC5, especially through Sector 1 and Sector 3, so I'm really surprised he's going the entire lap with TC off, but it seems to be kind of working for him as we run on board with Jaden Rondinella, who's just gone off the track, and that's Lucas right behind him going through. But I think these guys are all invalid in this little group, but maybe they're waiting for the last sort of minute to do their run.
It could be. We've got the motor livery of Benny Vintner here as well. A man that really knows his way around an Aston. Former BMW lover, reformed. Now knows and loves the Aston. Let's just say it's got a little bit more personality. I know people kind of hate on the Aston because they feel like it's a bit boring, but I still think it's more exciting than the Beamer. It sounds lively. The snap, crackle, pop of the engine. It's like someone poured a bunch of, an entire bowl of rice pops onto a bloody track of asphalt with rubber wheels. It's just fantastic. The way this thing drives in the wet too. We saw Benny Vintner's win last season at Bathurst in the wet, which was on a flooded track, nightmarish conditions. He's currently 0.2 up. He's showing us that he can do it in the dry as well. Currently sitting in 4th. I've got all the time in the world for this man. You watch, some of the other super pacey drivers go around. I'm talking the likes of whether it's Dink Donk, Chris Cooley, or Lucas Keys. They're so aggressive with their inputs. It's whipping it back and forth of the wheel, whereas Benny Vintner is just Mr. Smooth and he's calm and controlled. It's so smooth and soothing to watch, but he still produces the times, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Lele here could jump up to possibly 3rd here if he nails this final corner.
Yeah,
he could jump from 6th to 3rd. Yeah, so Vintner did cross the line with about 2 seconds left, but I think he either invalidated or didn't have enough fuel, so he's not going for his final lap, as Saxon Hayes has now crossed the line, and Lele jumps up to P3. Provisional, I guess, because Rondinella is still going around. But we've got a few other cars like Lucas Marshall as well in that Bentley, who have yet to cross the line, but well done from Lele to really lock in for that final lap and jump up quite a few positions.
Where's the Boatley sitting as a car these days? I'm fresh out of Academy doing sprints this series, so no one really drives the Bentley in Academy. I'm not sure why as well. I think it's an unbopped car. It's actually pretty damn good. But has it got sort of its moments? Are there things that it does really well in comparison to other cars?
I did drive it last season, and you'll see in Split Red, Patrick Johnson will probably be right up the top of the field in it. So it definitely has potential. It's just extracting that potential is a little bit more difficult than some of the more intuitive cars like the Ferrari or the Aston or whatever. It's one of those sort of older cars where you don't have the same electronics and real driver aids, so you really got to wring the neck of it to get out the time. But if you know what you're doing, you can definitely extract quite good pace, as you'll probably see from Patrick tomorrow as he laps you.
Yeah, as I watch him go sailing past, I'll wave as he shoots off into the distance, and I'll admire the Bentley from an angle that I'll become all too familiar with. Now we're going to get a bit of a look down the grid. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask for your favourite couple of liveries as we go through. I've got a big soft spot for this Cheetos livery. A long-time fan of Cheetos. Don't eat them too much now as a full-grown adult. I don't really think that there's something you can walk out of Woolworths with myself. But tell you what, they are tasty. We'll grab a handful whenever I'm at a party. So I love what Lele's doing with that.
I can certainly say that McLaren on the right is not going on my list of favourite liveries, because that is just absolutely terrible. Ben, please move the camera off that thing before I develop severe eye issues. But that Japanese police car Nissan is pretty cool from Saxon Hayes, like you were saying before. So that one gets a tick in the box for me. And there's a few, that Porsche as well with that sort of grid, or I don't know really how to describe it, but the crystal sort of pattern it's gone is quite nice. And that one McLaren. Desolation. I think that's Stan Buscovis is on the left in that Why Not McLaren. He's also got a tick from me.
Beautiful. And we're seeing, I like this deep blue. I'm sure someone's got a better name for it than deep blue. It's like turquoisey sort of macca on the left there. Teal. We can work with teal. I'll work with that. I can hear my other half, who is more of an artist than I ever will be, probably shaking her head in the background. But we've got the Castrol livery on the Macca. It feels wrong. It's on the wrong car, but it looks good. It's a classic. So I was talking with Dave Stevo, another prolific commentator, certified yapper in the OOR space. He and I love the classic old-timey liveries. And I've got a big love for this Porsche on the left-hand side with the big teeth at the front.
Rexy. Yep. Oh, sorry. This is Barney. I drove in this team for the Kyalami Enduro. So this is Rexy but purple, basically. So it's Barney the dinosaur.
Barney the dinosaur. Big fan. That was the. I had a bit of a tangle with you guys during the Enduro.
Oh yeah.
That's a story for another day. I've apologized profusely. I think I've paid my penance, and actually, can we stop here, Benny? Just have a quick look at this. It's a shoelace. It's a shoe car. The shoe fits.
I think is that Spenceley in that? Possibly, yeah. Joe Spenceley.
16, yeah, Joe Spenceley. That's
massive grid as well.
I actually think that's going to go down as my favorite. If the shoe fits, Porsche, that's where I'm sitting at.
Definitely. Yeah, and this grid just goes on forever. Like, it's absolutely massive. So, great job to everyone for getting a nice full split for us. I think they actually had to move some people out of this one because it was getting so massive. I think I saw over 50 people registered for split yellow. So, round of applause for the for getting the split nice and full, as ACC is now kind of entering, some say, its final days as LMU kind of comes along to steal its thunder. With the arrival of Asia servers for LMU and split blue being converted to LMU as well, this is possibly the last sort of full splits you'll see of ACC here at OOR, but we will not be sending it out lightly. I guarantee you there will be some action this race, so stay around.
Yeah, for sure. I saw a message in the chat earlier from our wonderful Benny Hignan on the cams, begging people to go 5 wide into T1. Not sure we're wanting to will that into existence, Benny, but we may get that kind of action anyway. When you come into the S's there, hot off the start, it's so easy to get a bit of speed and drive around the outside and look for a move that just isn't there. I'm not calling carnage. I don't want to go there, but I do think that we're probably going to have a bit of push shove, a bit of argy-bargy as we come in up into the back end of that first sector before the big long straight, where, I mean, the good thing about Paul Ricard is we should all be relatively sorted out by the time that we actually get to that back straight and beyond. I think Sector 3 could be quite calm, but the great thing about Paul Ricard that I've noticed just spending having done a couple of races here before and spending a bit of time in the Pracky servers as well, it actually encourages some really awesome pack-driven racing because cars have that massive 1.8 kilometre toe on the back straight. They can really catch up and sit super tight. So that Sector 3 will be one to watch for us tonight. Always produces some super tight racing and some awesome overtake opportunities, particularly into those last couple of turns.
Yep, 100%. Phil Slade, if he's watching, has done me on the final lap in the final sector here before a few years back. So that was a fun little battle we had. And I think every time I've been here, there's been a safety car on lap 1. So get ready, everyone, because there is possibility for quite a bit of action here. But they're going to line up 2x2, get into this nice little tight grid formation. Hopefully they all hold their positions. And the fact I'm not seeing Lucas Keys up the front tells me that he is probably starting from the back. So he'll probably jump up quite a few positions on these opening laps. And we'll keep an eye out for him if he does make an appearance towards the front of the race at the end sort of bit. But I will hand the start over to you, Matt. Take it away.
Yes, sir. We are coming up along the main straight now. We have up the front Britt and Ralphie, followed by Lele and Vintner. Those are going to be the top 4 to watch. We wait for those lights to turn green. We are going to be bunched up as anything coming in. We've already got some cars weaving around as we go green, green, green for our hour-long race. 1 mandatory pit stop. We've got Lele's Cheetos car already looking for more room than the track could offer. Coming into T1 where cars, we've got 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide. Benny, there's your wish up the backside. Everyone seems to be collecting relatively well through turn 2 into turn 3. This is a very clean start for Paul Ricard. We will take that. Welcome back to the Sprint Series for another season as we watch the yellow bollards go flying. Everything seems to be quite stable so far, very patient. We've got Benny Vintner already dropping back just a touch, sitting behind Lele and Britt there as well. But we've got the
past Britt.
Lele's gotten past Britt, and we've got the Mustang taking off up the front as well. Is that Ralphie? Ralphie's already out in front.
Ralphie. So I think Britt kind of got caught up with that sort of side by side with Lele, and Ralphie's just been able to run away here. But it's a very close pack as we see that GTR really start to stretch his legs down the main straight, pulling up to the back of the Aston. Kind of vulnerable here towards the end of the straight on this little uphill gradient where some of these cars struggle as they're going to go 2 wide into signs between Paul Britt and Eshan Lele. That is a very, very close moment, but they both make it through. They all make it through, in fact, just barely. Paul Britt's going to stick his nose down the inside on this long right-hander, gets a much better braking action and just sticks it on that inside and gets that move back done against Lele. So Paul Britt back into P2 after dropping back, and now Lele is under threat from the cars behind.
Your thing. We're changing positions like we're changing underwear through the week, which I hope everyone at home is doing. This is absolutely fantastic to watch. Everyone's swapping back and forth. We're going to see the Aston now sit hard on that rear end of Saxon Hayes. Benny Vincent is going to be looking for anywhere around to try and get ahead before the back straight. This is where the Aston excels through Sector 3 and Sector 1. We're going to see him come through, just keep enough on the main straight here, tucked in behind, tuck your elbows in, shut the windows and look for as much toe as you possibly can get here, Benny Vintner. But he's going to sit in behind Saxon Hayes, who will retain that position. Hard on the arse there of Rondinella as well, in the awful-looking McLaren that looks like someone chewed up and spat out leopard print. But we've got these two cars sitting pretty close on as we see Raupi just start to pull away in the Mustang as well. He's going to have no toe, but geez, he's going to get a good amount of overdrive over into that straight as well.
Yeah, another thing quickly to remind everyone, track limits are definitely a big thing here, so you don't want to get too many of them. 3 is your maximum amount of warnings, and if you get a 4th, you get a drive-through penalty. This track is very brutal on the track limits, so you really don't want to be racking them up. So keep a mental count of every time you see a car drive over those limits, because the drivers are going to be doing the same thing. They're very easy to get in the start of the race when this sort of chaos is ongoing, but we're just seeing the GTR just stretching its legs. I mean, that Aston is just can't even pull anything down the main straight, as I reckon Saxon is going to start attacking the back of Rondinella now as he's very close, as we do have some too wide action going on through sides behind. I believe that was Pascal Armstrong. And
we've got a track limit there for sure in the Bentley.
Yeah, just like I said, so that'll be a warning for the Bentley of Lucas Marshall, so that's something he's got to keep in mind as they continue. But yeah, that McLaren of Stan Buskover is also closing up to the back of Ben Vintner, not letting him run away in that toe of the GTR.
Yeah, have a look here as well at how close Benny Vintner got to the back of Saxon Hayes. They're obviously slower part of the track after the straight, but the GTR is stretching its legs mighty fine, as you said, in that long straightaway. But Benny Vintner able to make it all back and then some in the back end of the track. We've got Paul Britt doing a mid 153, very impressive as well. We've already got our first 15-second penalty as well. We might get a replay of that a little bit later, but Raupi managing to hold off Paul Britt so far. But with that pace, Paul's going to be challenging him in the Fezzer.
It's going to be interesting to see how Paul Britt kind of engineers this overtake, because he's not going to be able to do it on the straight, most likely. I mean, the Ferrari does a pretty good top end, but he'll have to be really close to the back of Raupi if he wants to actually get the drive past. So he is definitely charging after him, but I think the battle will be something fairly interesting as long as Raupi doesn't make any huge mistakes. His Britt will be in the slipstream at 5.7 tenths coming onto the back straight, or the Mistral straight, but whether he can overpower that Mustang is another question entirely.
Yeah, we've here we go. We're going to see this 15-second penalty, I think, here. 15-second penalty was for car 396. So, it's a hard tap. It's a big bump up the Tukas, but it's caused a lot of carnage, but it was a relatively minor incident. Tough one. I'm glad I'm not the Stuart Ingox trying to sort that one out. We've got some cries in the YouTube comments as well. JC begging for Loopty Rondinella to pull over as the coppers chase him down. You got to wait for those blue and white lights, mate. You got to pull over when you see those blue and red, rather. The cop car of Saxon Hayes. The sound of the police ringing loud in Loopty's ears, possibly. But Saxon Hayes continues to sit on his tail. You got Prakash Armstrong as well here, mate. A guy that I don't know. I don't think I've actually raced against Alex. He's Pro-Am, but seems to be holding his own up there with Silvers and Pros.
Yeah, old controller player, Alex Pascal Armstrong in that Ford.
That is wild.
Yeah, he's been around for a little while now, so he definitely knows what he's doing. But currently leading the Pro-Am field on quite a competitive grid, so well done to him. As we ride on board with Paul Brett through turn 1, heading down this little mini straight now, into the tricky sort of right-hander trail braking off into the left-hander of L'École or something like that. I'm not a French-speaking person, so I probably butchered the pronunciation, but into this 90-degree tight right-hander, which, as we saw before, has the capability to cause a little bit of trouble. But Paul Britt now right on the back of that Mustang, so we'll see what kind of straight line speed the Ferrari can deliver. The Mustang will have the edge at the start of the straight, but once he kind of gets into 5th gear, I think the Ferrari's going to start pulling on him, as we're seeing now. Probably
It's
just
already happening.
Yeah.
My goodness, Paul Britt's going to look to make a move here. Big dive up the inside to try and get around. They're going to go neck and neck into it should be turn 8 on the GT3 layout with no chicane. He's going to get that move done really cleanly, but there's not a lot of grip where he's looking to push the car. These guys are going to go neck and neck into the next turn. Turns, we've got 8 and 9 around here. Coming up into turns 12, 13, he's gonna get it done though. Paul Britt pulling away. I'm not even going to attempt the pronunciations of this French track, but the Mustang Ralphie seems to be just holding on and looking down the inside as well. Britt not finding the grip on the outside in the Ferrari. Typically a high downforce car, likely running very, very low wing at this track to try and keep the pace up. The Mustang, just that raw power, even with the bop and the restrictor, the American piece of cheese, the muscle is still pushing its way through.
Yeah, so funnily enough, if Ralphie can stay in the slipstream for next lap, we might just see a re-overtake there, because I don't think he fought that one too hard, at least not down the straight, because he could have gone defensive, but he elected against it and to block the inside into Sainz. But yeah, he did have a little look towards the end of the lap, but I think Paul Britt ultimately will have the pace, and Raupi is also a silver driver, so technically not really in the battle, but I guess it is the lead, so you're always going to try and take that. As you see,
Saxon Hayes
just driving past McLaren.
Son of the police coming down around the outside, down the straight, stretching those legs. What a move as well, getting it done. Not cutting off Lutey, staying on the outside. That's quite respectable racing, still making track limits. What a great move from Mr. Hayes. We'll take that.
Yeah, just utilising that GTR raw power down the straights to kind of just breeze by Lutey on the outside. But then also getting the job done around the outside of Sainz, which is a very difficult corner to go around the outside of. I'm sure if anyone in the chat has ever tried. But yeah, we'll see. Raupi, I don't think, has really been able to put the pressure on again. As we see Lucas Keys drive past that Porsche in the GTR, so he's up from last place, or somewhere around there. I think he started up to P16 now, so he's carving his way through the field like a hot knife through butter, as we would expect. But now he's got Chris Arth in front of him and Zach Jensen, a fellow GTR, in front of him as well. So we'll have to get past these guys.
Sure, we're seeing some pretty tight racing up here, but Lucas Keys always just got that pace and that alien mindset for getting around these cars. It's kind of interesting though, because I don't think he's going to look to put on any insane moves. I think he's going to try and just move through the pack cleanly, calmly, slowly. But what it's doing is it means that the leaders, as we see Paul Britt put down another purple lap of 1:53.2, the leaders are just going to get further and further away while Keys sits stuck in this traffic, as he's now sitting hard on the tail of Darth there as well. Just trying to get in up that, find the bonnet latch and sit inside for a tow, but he's gone around the outside, pushing into the inside of T1 here. He's going to make a dive and get it done cleanly. Darth not wanting to tangle with that, letting him go, just saying, yep, no, on your way, son. Sorry about getting in your way just there.
Yeah, and we're seeing this little group behind Saxon just kind of sit on his rear bumper through the tight and twisty sort of section, so Sector 1 and Sector 3, but as soon as they get to the straight, the GTR just kind of leaves them for dead. So Saxon possibly trying to make his way up to the back of Lele, which would promote him into a podium position. So that would be nice if he can get that, but it's not going to be easy, as also Raupi has kind of driven away from Lele, at least for now. But having driven the Mustang here before, I can tell you the tyres do not like this track very much, especially Sector 3. So maybe Raupi will have to change tyres, or he'll try to stay on those worn tyres towards the end. That's the other thing. They've only got really 19 minutes left of this sort of stint if they elect to do the halfway sort of strategy, as we get a replay of a Porsche going side by side with a Mustang. Oh wow, Porsche and McLaren getting out wide. Oh, that was close.
Oh, we're seeing the carnage that I've brought the carnage from the GT4 and Porsche Cup. It's all back. It's coming to haunt me. But it's a Macca that looks very similar to the Cheetos Macca of Lele, but it was not. Paul Britt still just out here setting purple laps for fun. Not sure if that's because Lucas Keys is stuck in traffic or he's really got something to prove here. He's already a second clear of Raupi here as well. And we've seen some pretty decent gaps come up in certain areas of the field, but we've got some pretty tight racing going on. Just going down through the field, Lele has got a 2.7 second gap to second of Raupi. But then we've got Luchi still less than half a second behind Hayes, Vintner less than half a second behind him as well. And then we've also got some 0.6s, 0.4s, and 0.8s down the field, with particularly Layla Bell and Darth. Actually, we can get a bit of action on that in just a sec, Benny Hignett, when you have the chance to flick over. Layla Bell sitting 0.2 off the back of Darth here. Not looking that close to this high-speed section, but we're going to see her get pretty close here. Look for a bit of overspeed as well. Kieran Reid, 15-second penalty for collision on lap 4. Yikes, that's not a fun one to receive. 15 seconds. Talk to me more about the sprint side of penalties. Is 15 seconds a little stick, or are we looking into the medium-sized stick there?
Oh, definitely on the larger side of the stick measurement. But yeah, I mean, the max you'll see is probably a drive-through, but that's a little bit on the rare side. So 15 is pretty common for the sort of more not so great maneuvers. It's really close.
That's insane.
I think, is that Lucas behind him? Yeah,
it might be, yeah. So Sakania's got around went through the inside there and managed to pull up, and we've got dash pass from Lucas Keys, starting to shove his nose in where it may not belong, but he's trying to push the point anyway. Lucas Keys hard on the tail of Murphy there in the Porsche, looking for a way around, but just sitting there. This is where Lucas Keys doesn't just sit in your mirror, he takes up the whole damn thing. The amount of skill this bloke has to sit that close behind another car. We're seeing this backup as well. The Macca of McDowell just hitting a curb in an ugly way there. We don't like hitting curves in the Macca compared to particularly the Porsche. Even though sometimes we do risk the Porsche Pogo, but the GTR doesn't mind a curb either, so they're always going to get that almost corner-cutting leg up on the Macca there. Sakanias as well, managing to just stay clear there on the straights, the Macca using all its downforce, but you do have to run a super low wing. So this is where it's super hard. I was talking to a couple of the other guys that are driving Maccas here as we see Lucas Keys going up the inside here, managing to take all that curb, getting the move done. McDowell and the Porsche just backing off as well, letting him go through. Porsche guys save lives. Just living to fight another day here as they let Lucas Keys go off. But Dylan McDowell, great, fantastic racer, great race craft as well, I often find. So knows how to keep it clean, and that's a good way to get it done.
Yeah, we're about to see Sakanias just get absolutely eaten on the straight by that GTR as it just kind of drives around him.
Lucas not even chewing his food there, just taking one big bite and it goes all the way down. He's going to stick it around the outside here. Macca actually, Sakani is actually holding on a little bit more, gives a bit of a waggle. Lucas Keys going hard around the outside, trying to find and use as much track as possible, keeping it somehow within those track limits. You see those little flags sticking up out of the ground, little markers that indicate our track limits here tonight. We've already seen one. I think it was a Bentley went over that just a little bit earlier, but everyone else seems to be doing okay on track cuts, which is good.
Yeah, the GTR seems to be a good car of choice for doing a last to first challenge, especially at this track, because you can get a lot of overtakes done down the straight, as we see. I believe that's
going to see the Shell Mustang here as well. There's our penalty, and we are sideways on a track. You cannot park there, gentlemen. But that's a good move off the track. Normally I'm a big fan of hold your brakes, but that's a smart move. Get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, so I think that was Kieran Reid's 15-second, which is a pretty slam dunk penalty there. That's 15 minutes of the race completed, and I reckon that might have been a cut from Ben Vintner there on the exit of turn 1-2 complex, which is very difficult to not invalidate or get a track cut. But this little battle is still going. I think Vintner's just he can't really do anything because the McLaren gets toe off the GTR down the straight, and then even though he can close up to the McLaren in the sort of more tight technical sections, the Aston and this track just doesn't really allow you to put on any proper moves. But we'll see if he can close this gap down the straight. I guess that he will, but whether he can actually do anything to that McLaren, which is firmly in the toe of the GTO, is a bit of a different question.
Yeah, too right. We've got the official verdict in from OOR's official matriarch, Jan. Jan has let us know, she's letting us know that incident earlier that we saw qualifies for an oh no, which is one of Jan's higher ratings, I think, that I've seen in chat in terms of how bad and horrific an incident gets. Jan, I don't know if we ever get worse than an oh no, but I don't think I ever want to find out. So we'll leave it there. We'll call that as bad as it gets. We're seeing Saxon Hayes just watching the rear there. We've got Rondinella looking for a way around Jaden. Typically a man that prefers driving on grass, asphalt, and basically anything that isn't the actual racetrack itself. Just
especially when it's straight.
Yeah, especially when it's on a straight. He pings off walls like no man's business, but it's particularly interesting to see him just trying to waggle and find a way around Saxon, possibly trying to live in his head rent-free here. Saxon completely unbothered. The man's a copper for a living. He knows exactly what he's doing here. This is not the most pressure-intense situation he's ever been a part of. We're watching Lucas Keys. Sir, I have your order is the team name for this sprint series. Going down the inside now here of Prakash Armstrong and taking it nice and clean. GTR making the Ford look silly there, saying, nah, haha, you have a restrictor. And I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the restrictor's actually not on this track, funnily enough.
Oh!
There's no restrictor for the Ford on this track because, well, from what I believe is that because this track has so much like high RPM time down the straight, the Ford would just lose so much time because the restrictor only really starts to affect you once you get into those high RPMs, and because the Ford is forced to just sit in fifth right on the rev limiter, it would basically kill its drive down the entire straight. So it doesn't have the restrictor, but it's still, I mean, with the plus 16 it gets, it's still vulnerable to things like the GTR. I think the GTR is the only car that's ever overtaken me on the straight with ease, and I was very shocked when that happened.
100%. I'm almost thinking JC's just put this in chat as well. I reckon that I think he's right about this. JC's writing in chat. We've got Lupti and Saxon could actually be working together to try and tow the pack up and along a bit. We might actually see them create a bit of difference here, but we've got Saxon sitting still ahead of Lupti, but I reckon they're having this moment where they're just trying to use each other's speed and overdrive and get the maximum amount of tow off the GTR to pull into Lele, which is a fantastic way to get it done. These boys are both racing from the same corner of the world. Both, I believe, Kovac's racing team would be theirs, but I think they're also Bin Chick, and I think Saxon and Lupti are in just about every subset of OOR together, I'm sure. But they seem to be doing quite well here together, actually, holding it, piece by piece. We're seeing Zach Jensen here as well, sitting mid-pack at the moment, car 95, another Nissan or Nissan if you're from the States. But sitting with Spencer King, pretty tight in behind 1.5 and 0.2. That's a really tight gap.
Pretty close Yep. Be a little bit of contact there, but he's pulled it up. Obviously, when you get low, like the GTR, it's so easy to outbrake yourself because you forget you're doing like 5, sometimes faster Ks into the one of them what you're really doing. But yeah, this is really interesting because the Audi, if you run low wing, is actually not bad on the straight. It kind of matches forward, but running low wing Audi is well, what should I say for the fact part? It is quite scary. We're seeing Lucas Marshall getting past Alex Armstrong pretty early on the straight, so he's going to have a little look at maybe just letting Lucas Marshall go as he's pro driver, and Alex is currently leading the class.
Yeah, I can't believe he's hang on, we've got some comments in the chat. Bignet, we've got some Discord tings happening with the microphones. They should be back in a sec, everyone, if you can't already hear us. I'm shooketh that Prakash Armstrong is a controller racer. One of the guys that I've spent a lot of time racing with, Mr. Adam Lewis, I think still to this day is faster on a controller at Bathurst than he is on the wheel. And it just terrifies me. The tippy tap taps of the controller are a very interesting thing to sit here and watch. We're going to watch his hands, and then maybe we even get a comparison as well to the car that he's following of Lucas Marshall. We should see some tippy tap taps, as I hear people refer to it, where we're seeing the harsh inputs of dunk, 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 as he goes around the corner, tapping the left stick of that controller. Very impressive car control compared to the smooth approach of a wheel. Very, very different, and it certainly gives you an appreciation for just how fast you can be on a controller. But I suppose it's that reaction time, the ability to sort of kick back and forth. Maybe there's something to it. The one thing that I really won't ever understand, though, is the WASTA drivers, the keyboard and mouse boys. I think there's one sprint driver that I've heard of. I can't remember his name, but I think he's on controller. And that is just a wild concept. Not controller, sorry, on keyboard. It's a wild concept.
Yeah, I could never. I did used to play the game on controller, but not anymore. You can, like, obviously get better to a certain point, and then it just becomes, like, incredibly difficult. But yeah, Paul Britt currently in control of this race. I'm wondering what kind of strategy he's going to do, because you know, you can do the half and half, you can overfuel a little bit more to go longer into this first stint, and him being in the Ferrari, tyres really don't matter that much. I mean, that thing's basically got no tyre wear, so he can just drive however he wants and just come into pit whenever. But because it is fixed fuel timing, you don't want to really fuel at the end, because obviously that would be kind of less logical, because you have different fuel amounts, and you might as well just do it half away. And possibly take tyres too. But yeah, like I said, he's probably not going to be taking tyres, whereas Raupi, if he's really pushing that thing, he might be forced to. So yeah, we're seeing the GTR great Blake Griffiths now being kind of pestered by that McLaren. I believe that is George Sakanius driving that car. Yeah,
Sakanius just giving Blake something to think about. She doesn't seem to be too impeded by it at the moment, but leading a nice little procession is Blake. She's got a few cars behind her. They're all quite evenly spaced out, but all will be taking advantage of the toe of the GTR. Actually, one kind of interesting thing now that I think about it, if you look through the field, pretty much every one of these little processions, bar one that I can see now, is led by a Ford or a GTR. So it's almost like all these cars are actually just trying to get as much tow as they possibly can off the faster cars and do with it what they will. It's the best way to stay in the race, and maybe this is a tactic for you and I, as we see Rondinello go side by side with Saxon, but Saxon managing to hold the inside, both of them avoiding a track cut, but Rondinella having to actually sacrifice a little bit of speed coming out of that fast right-hander. You always forget how to hit the brakes there, but given you're on the accelerator for so long. But Loopty managing to keep it on track. Well done, Jade.
Yeah. So maybe these guys are stopping working together now, because I would have thought he would have given him like a little bump draft or just lifted if they really wanted to work together. But he did pull out for something that did look suspiciously like an overtaking attempt. So yeah, like you were saying, the big cars, or as Lipty pulls off to do his pit now. So yeah, I think he thinks he's being kind of stuck behind that Nissan of Hayes and can't really get past. So he's going to jump into the pits, get his stop out the way a little bit earlier, and yeah, see if he can get the undercut, which is quite difficult to do in ACC. It doesn't always work as it might do in other series such as F1. But yeah, he's going to try to get that undercut, as yeah, the big cars are just kind of leading all the trains here, as yeah, Lucas Keys now on the back of Benjamin Piper. So as long as Lucas can just keep this gap, he's going to potentially could potentially get both of these guys down the main straight if he can get a double toe. But we'll have to see what kind of drive he gets off the exit. That's not too bad, as he's got the Audi in front of him, which isn't the best down the straights, especially when you're running those higher wing setups. So we'll see that GTR pull up to the back of him now, start to drive around him, and he's also got the McLaren directly in front. So he's alongside with the Audi. I would say that's about halfway down the straight. Now he's firmly in the toe of the McLaren. So I reckon he'll be getting some serious speed coming down this straight, possibly up to 290. That's one more car down. Only 6 to go, really.
6 to go, and some healthy gaps in there as well, keeping in mind that Lucas has not pitted, as the rest of the field is not either. But so he's got a combined total of about sort of 3.5. Yeah, we're looking at probably close to 20 seconds to make up. Which I think the main challenge here, given that this is my first exposure to Paul Britt, Paul seems to be doing a pretty bloody good job. We've just seen him pull into the pits, but he's been clear of the field and has put down repeated fast lap times. If he takes tyres, we're going to see some more purple lap times, but he will drop that 5 seconds. Do you reckon you're making up that time? Do you reckon you're five seconds over the next 30 minutes? Squirrels, do you reckon you're 5 seconds quicker on freshies?
In cars like the Ford or cars that really chew the tyres up, yes. I think you'd lose a decent amount of time staying on those tyres. But in a car like the Ferrari, I really think you don't lose too much. There's been many a time where I've been driving along happily and we get to the last 15 minutes of the race and a Ferrari just flies up to the back of me like I'm standing still and just drives past me. Cough, cough, Taufik at Zolder when he just drove around the outside of me. That was quite frustrating. But yeah, different cars, different sort of tyre wear. And yeah, maybe the bigger cars, if they feel their tyres are really going to go off, if they've done any practice, then yeah, they'll swap. But a lot of the sort of lighter, less tyre consuming cars probably won't change.
Yeah. And it's funny, Chris Cooley has this theory that particularly the Ferrari's tyres, they come back, they die for a couple of laps, but then out of nowhere, you get a set of freshies out of nowhere for like the next 10 minutes and then they die again. So it's an immense and weird and wacky and wonderful thing that happens in ACC. But let's go through a quick leaderboard update. Insane, Saxon Hayes is not in an Audi tonight, but we have an Audi in the top 10, which at the moment is fantastic. I'm loving seeing Piper's Audi up there. What a great little car to push that out. Looks mean, hard to drive, hard to set up. But I've heard it's very, very rewarding. We've got Lucas Keys sitting in 5th as well, not stopped. Ralphie in for a pit stop, a lap after our leader of Paul Britt as well, who is now way down the field. We've actually got some pretty close racing for an entire field of cars here too. So once you pit, you are going to drop back a long way. However, you should find yourself some clear air.
Well, so I don't know. On a grid this size, I mean, you can see right here, he's actually fairly close to the cars in front. So that's another risk of pitting a little bit early. You can get caught up in sort of traffic behind, and if they don't want to play ball, you can lose a bunch of time.
Yeah, and look, so yeah, the difference in pit stops in terms of where they've come out. So Britt is now stuck 1.3 seconds behind Bowden there, the amateur car. But then we've also got Loopty now with a 6-second clear gap of air in front of him. We've also got Breno coming in chat saying that he reckons that Paul Britt might make the 3 seconds even before Ralphie pits, which we may have just seen. We'll have to keep a close eye on it. As for where Ralphie comes out, we're waiting for the timing data update.
So Britty's taken tyres, I reckon, and Ralphie hasn't. And that's how he's made up that gap, because the gap was about 2 seconds, which would make sense, or 2 to 3 seconds. So Ralphie's elected to take the track position advantage, but not the tyres. So that might come back to hurt him, especially towards the end of the race.
And particularly in the Mustang.
Yeah. Also, maybe Britt just had a slow stop, because that is really surprising to me that Britt would decide to take tyres in the Ferrari, and it's kind of the complete opposite of what I had expected. So maybe Britt also had a slow stop, got moved, his ignition didn't turn off properly or something. But yeah.
The horrible, awful things that can happen. But yeah, he is half a second behind Ralphie now. So actually already catching up. We've got Nate James here as well, the amateur car, sitting up the back of these two. He's going to look to, just dive up the inside. Nate James sitting comfortably, letting them all go past. He's just going to let this battle happen in front of him. Great driving, Nate. Great work. Just keeping out of the way, letting these insanely fast alien speed boys go through. When do you reckon that pressure starts kicking in, Squirrels, for the Mustang and the tyres? Where would you be worried at this point?
Last 15 minutes, especially with the Ferrari behind me. Like you said, like the Ferrari kind of reminds me of like the F1 cars on like hard tires where they have that like obviously the initial tire grip, and then they start to get some graining or whatever. But if they just keep driving, it actually the tire kind of repairs itself over time, and actually comes back to them a little bit more towards the end of the stint. And that's why you see so many races are one stops or whatever nowadays in F1. Like they just chuck on the hards and they can basically go forever. But yeah, I reckon last 15 minutes we'll start to see Raupi struggle if the Ferrari hasn't got past him by then. But I think he's fairly clear of Lele, who I believe... Oh, that's Rondinella going very deep.
Rondinella just went very deep.
Yeah.
Missed a breaking point, perhaps. Just forgot where the track goes. You've had one pit stop, and he's maybe had a beer during the pit stop and just forgotten where he is and what's going on. Get back with it, Loopty. There's no grass to mow here at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, also Britty, like Breno's just said in the chat, the Fez only needs to be really within 3/10 of that Mustang, because once the turbos get going and that thing gets into the high gears, it actually pulls quite well. But maybe Raupi will learn from his time he got overtaken earlier in the race and will properly defend the position on the inside into science rather than kind of just holding the outside. But I don't think the Ferrari's going to be able to make a move here. Raupi's just got the gap out enough so that he's not under threat. But yeah, like I said, unless Paul Britz had a bad stop or something and you know, Raupi did actually change tyres, I think he's going to be struggling towards the end of the race.
Had a really close look at, I think it was Sanakis, was it? Or who did we have? We had two cars pulling in really tight on the straight there, Benny. We just zipped past him. I think it's Dylan McDowell actually sitting hard on the tail of Prakash Armstrong. Managing to...
Yep.
Excuse me, managing to keep it separate there. But yeah, great tow from the Porsche there.
Oh, he's going to chuck it down the inside on this very long sweeping right-hander, which the Mustang absolutely sucks at. That is the worst corner on the track for the Ford because it just does not want to turn, and especially compared to a Porsche or Ferrari, they can just pester you and constantly stick the nose down the inside, which McDowell's just done to take that position off Pascal Armstrong. And I've actually noticed Pascal Armstrong is not in the lead of Pro-Am anymore. De Arth is in front of him after the pit stops, so maybe Pascal Armstrong had something go wrong, because that looks like a decently... Oh no, maybe Pascal took tyres and De Arth didn't. That's also
I reckon it's going to be the tyres, because we're even seeing, if you look at Loopty in the Macca and Saxon Hayes, Loopty was just sitting behind Saxon before the pit stop, could have gone in for an undercut strategy, and now sitting ahead of Saxon by a gap of almost 3 seconds. So we've got to think that I reckon Saxon's taken tyres in the GTR.
Yep, and now Raupi is under attack from Britt, who's going to do the exact same thing. This is a carbon copy of what happened towards the start of the race. It's just going to drive past him on the straight. So yeah, that does show that the Ferrari is definitely not messing around when it's in a tow. Raupi might try to mount a little attack here like he did previously as well, but once that Ferrari can just start taking his normal lines again, I reckon he's going to disappear pretty quick. And we'll see whether Raupi does come under threat from the drivers behind towards the end of the race. Like, I do remember a few seasons ago when I was here in the Ford, towards the end, I was just bleeding so much time because my tyres were absolutely cooked to some of the cars behind. So yeah, McDowell also has a drive-through, possibly for speeding in the pit lane, as well as a 5 seconds for Layla Bell. So that's really going to hurt McDowell, as unfortunately we were just looking at him and you were saying how well he was going.
Yeah, and it was a big move that he made down the inside of Layla Bell, but it does look like he's actually conceded that position now. And we'll be having to serve that drive through, so that's a big kick in the guts there as well. We've got Benny Simpson in chat saying, "Can Saxon see if he can produce something here?" But sitting now behind, whoa, we've got a bit of a dangerous pit exit. This is crazy when you see this at Paul Ricard. You got a car coming out of the pits, and then you got all these cars shooting, hunting up the main straight there. Benny Vintner, no doubt avoiding a collision by swerving out of the way. Someone go around to Benny's place and just check his chair. I think we might have some brown pants situations after that one. But he's managed to avoid it, keeps it on track. Now sitting in a comfortable 11th position after his pit stop. 12th, sorry. No, never mind. We're updating. 11th, he's sitting there. Really well done in the Aston. Number 7. sitting in there, tucked in behind Saxon Hayes and Rondell. So we've got this little battle pack. It's back. It's back. It's one of our favourites of the race. Two boys from Skill Issue Racing. I got it wrong and called out some of the other servers they're in. Call it Skill Issue Commentating, JC, there as well. Apologies. But we do have the Skill Issue Racing boys, followed by the Sofa King Slow of Benny Vintner.
Yeah, and Stan Boskova's not too far off the back of him either. He's just kind of been sitting in that same spot for the entire race in that McLaren, just behind Vintner, but can't really get anything done. But like you were saying with the pit exit, this track is one of those tracks where you just kind of get put out right onto the racing line. So it's very easy to like have a collision if both the drivers are a little bit asleep at the wheel, because that ideal line goes directly over the pit exit. So yeah, you got to be a little bit more awake for that sort of part of the track, as Gareth Raupe and Paul are still possibly going at it. So Raupe definitely had the toe for that lap with his gap to Britt, and probably got that purple lap because he's just sitting right in the toe of that Ferrari, and that Mustang obviously is very fast when it's in the toe.
Yeah, that is crazy. We've also got Nate James sitting
side by side.
Oh, side by side into it here. We've got Benjamin Piper, and that's Loopty. Rondinello around the outside now, coming into turn 3 and 4, sorry. So we've got Loopty just sticking his nose, staying ahead in the chewed up, spat out leopard print McLaren, managing to hold it off there. But we do have them coming, so there's going to be a big toe there as well for Piper, going up the entire back straight in the Audi. I have no idea what the Audi is like on a straight, but you've got to think it's going to hug tight to the back of that McLaren as well, which is not the fastest car, so they're going to be pretty close at the end of this. But Rondinella managing to hold on there. Really well done from Jaden.
Yeah, well, I think what happened there was Piper came out and his tyres were obviously a little bit cold from being sat in the pit box, so he didn't quite have the tyre temperature to hang it around the outside, and he was having a little bit of a traction issue coming off turn 1, and that's what allowed Rondinella to just get the power down and kind of drive past him. But Raupe not letting Paul Britt go completely, so maybe, yeah, I'm not sure, because Paul Britt before seemed absolutely on fire, but now he can't seem to get away from Raupe, which is quite different to what we saw before, obviously.
Yeah, pretty impressive there as well. We've had some stuff in the chat coming through. Marshy's just pointed out, yeah, we agree with you, mate. I think the DT was for track limits, which is very unfortunate, but again, very easy to do at Paul Ricard. I don't want to curse this race, but I am kind of surprised that we've only had one car actually reach that track limits. I reckon we've got a couple of cars here that might be trying to take it a little bit easy, avoid pushing it and pushing the point there. We've got Rondinella now on the tail end of Nate James, one of 2 cars in the field that have not pitted. Zach Jensen up in first position technically at the moment, so probably just enjoying that title. Getting a quick screenshot, sending it to friends and family saying, look at me go, I'm in first. But there is a pit stop to come for him and Nate James. Nate James also leading the amateur class at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. But he is causing some problems for the cars behind him at the moment, which are trying to find a way around. They are faster drivers. Nate's sitting there at the amateur level. He's got pros sailing everywhere. I think he's dropped about 4 positions there. I'm kind of interested to see when he's going to go in and pit. Is there much sense in holding on and trying to do a splash and dash at the end? Especially when you got 25 seconds or 27 seconds for a minimum stop?
Yeah, you do see it occasionally more with the Porsches and stuff that it can run quite long without much tyre wear. But yeah, as we're saying that, I was just going to mention this before. Saxon Hayes just sitting on the back of Ben Piper, and there he goes down the main straight. So Ben Piper sort of suffering a little bit for taking that slightly later stop. His tyres just not really getting up to temperature for the Rondinella battle, and then just being very vulnerable to that GTR down the main straight. But I do believe this is where he was before the stop, so I guess it's just a net gain of really nothing. Or maybe he's jumped into, no, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I mean, it would be a little bit frustrating for him being so close to getting that track position, but you can't be too mad about that, because that's just sometimes how racing goes.
Them's the breaks, hey. So We got Piper as well in the Audi. Saxon waving goodbye. We've got a new fastest lap. Lucas Keys has officially found some clean air, everybody. Keys now sitting 9 seconds off the tail end of Ralpy, and who is only half a second behind Britt. So we've got to think that Lucas Keys is going to give it all he's got, find that mustard, and really get keen to sit up and try and bring that 10-second gap in as much as he can. Sorry, 16-second gap, I believe now. Timing tower.
It is. I think it is 10 seconds.
There we go. 10 seconds. It was the pit. It was the pit box playing with my mind. But we've got Darth here as well with a little pack behind him of Steve Lewis and Layla Bell. Layla Bell sporting that 5-second penalty, which probably won't get served until the end of the race now, given that she has served her pit stop already. So that's going to sit and stay with her. But we do have this little procession here. Darth is going to give him a free tow up the straight the entire way. Darth currently second place in the Pro-Am category for this evening. No, sorry. Yeah, Darth sitting in first now because we've got Jensen going right the way back after his pit stop.
Oh, yeah, Paul. I'm still a little bit confused as, Paul Cranich, 5-second penalty for dangerous driving. I'm still a little bit confused what happened to Pascal Armstrong because I swear he was leading Pro-Am until the pit stops, and then he wasn't, but maybe I'm just going crazy. But yeah, Steve Lewis not really able to catch that Ferrari in front of him, as we see Ben Piper now behind the Aston of Vintner. So the Aston's got past. I'm gonna take a wild guess to where the Aston has got past. Do you wanna have a guess of where that was?
Oh, here we go. We're gonna see a replay of it anyway for free. We're gonna watch Benny Vintner making it look like he's gonna go around the outside, but I reckon he's gonna. Whoa, this is a pretty big defensive maneuver from Piper. That's a little bit of a kiss and tell as they just drive up. Benny Vincent possibly going to throw it around the inside here. Fantastic move from him, finding all the grip on the inside there and leaving Piper with absolutely nothing on the outside. There's no grip out there. It looks great and it looks grippy, but it is like an ice rink out there. You got to really try and sit in on that dark rub it in line. Otherwise, you just go spitting out wide onto the sandpaper-ish blue and red paint out there on the asphalt.
Yep. Now, Alex Pascal Armstrong under attack from Brian Kong, a new addition to our pro list, I believe, after I think he got pole at Hungary last season, so he's moved up, or he's moved himself up. But he's going to be threatening the Mustang here for P14 as he looks down the inside. Not going to force it just yet, but he isn't a GTR, so he doesn't have to rush it. As we see, this may be Sakanius and Paul Cranich. So
Paul Cranich. We're going to watch the contact. Wow, that's deep and late on the brakes. Has done it to themselves, really. It's a tough little maneuver, but manages to, not harm the opposition too much and, spin himself out. So, no harm, no foul, I suppose, but it's a toughie.
Yeah, GTR with the help of a bit of rubber banding, I think he's gonna get past the Ford down the Mistral straight. Gonna get fully in front of him by the time they turn for Cygnus, and Alex Pascal Armstrong losing another position, unfortunately. So currently sitting in P3 in the Pro-Am, which I guess is still a podium, but I swear he was higher up, so maybe something has gone wrong that we haven't seen, as now Ben Vintner on the back of Saxon Hayes. Either he absolutely hates looking at this rear bumper of the GTR from the amount of time he's been sitting behind this thing, just not able to get past, as the GTR just holds him up in the slow sectors and then just pulls away down the straight.
Everyone on stream enjoying the snap crackle pop of the Aston V8 Vantage there of Benny Vintner. As you said, I completely agree. I think he's going to get a little bit sick of seeing this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pretty aggressive move come from Benny here over the last 14 and a half minutes of our season opener for the Thermaltake Sprint Series here at Octane Online Racing. And we've got a really interesting proposition that actually, while we just sort of watch this procession of cars go around, Saxon Hayes leading it, chasing down Loopty as well, Rondinella. There's a community race happening this weekend for LMU in honour of the Asian servers opening up, which is something that not just OOR, but the entire sim racing community has been begging for, particularly down here from our lonely, big island. Mate, are you going to be taking part in the LMU community race? I think it's going to be on Sunday based on the vote, so it could be Saturday night as well.
It's possible. I'll see what I've got going on. I'm not quite yet the biggest fan of LMU and how it drives, but I guess it kind of is the future. As I believe we're going to see what happened to Blake Griffiths here.
Oh, no,
that is
Blakey.
Mustang behind him. Going to give her a little tap at that worst possible moment.
And they're spun around.
Yeah. Unfortunate. I'm not exactly sure who that Ford was. I think it's Apreciado, the number 11. But
yep.
Yeah, back to the LMU thing. Yeah, I mean, I might do it if I've got time, but I think I'll probably be watching or perhaps commentating for that one if I can, if they're looking for commentators for that.
Yeah, I do hear that quite a bit, that the driving feel is super different. I have it purchased sitting in my Steam library, so I haven't actually cracked it out yet. So if I am to take part in that race, it will be trial by fire. I'll promise all the OOR admin that I will be learning as much as I can before the weekend if I'm to jump in. Marshy's calling for you to do it, Aiden. Come on, Squirrels, you got to jump in for it, or at the very least commentate it. Jan Tully's saying, hey again, everyone. We got an F in the chat for Blake Griffiths as well, being spun around. F's in the chat if you can, folks. She copped it a bit there. We're going to see Steve Lewis as well making a move around the outside of Darth. We've got a big slide as well from Lewis. That is very, very difficult to come back from, but manages to just hold on to it. So we're going to be too wide coming into this right-hander here. There is not room for two cars as we see your purple, what did you call it? Barney the dinosaur, Barney the livery of the purple Porsche coming around and taking advantage and getting a free position there. Who's in that one? Is
Arthur's a drive-through for track limits. So possibly just then in that battle with Lewis, he's dropped one wheel outside of the track limits, and that's
pay the price.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking for Darth if that's happened. That's going to drop him way down as Ben Vintner cuts
Benny Vintner making a move down the inside of Saxon. Saxon seeing red, not just in the car, but probably emotionally as well. That's a tough move to fall victim to, particularly in the GTR, and he knows he would have given him a big toe all the way up the back straight there. Benny Vintner, what a move. We might have to look at that one for the Thermal Overtake series, which will be kicking off again this season. So that's a good one to keep in the bank. Wow, wait.
Yeah. So maybe move after Cygnus from Ben Vintner there, just maybe capitalizing on the GTR running a little bit wide or getting a bad run. As we're going to see it here, I reckon that's what's happened. Yeah, that GTR looks pretty slow. Ben Vinton is going to have a look up the end. Oh, wow. Okay, so Saxon's just braked it a little bit late. Oh, he's run off the track.
Yeah, run super wide. Yeah.
There's no grip out there at all, and Vinton is just going to sneak up the inside and say, thank you very much.
Jackson, I'm going to say it. Someone buy that man an Atlas. He's forgotten where the track goes. That's not your best, Saxon. Skill issue racing at its finest, but can still fight back. We've seen him make up this time in these positions before. They're both sitting now on the back of Rondinella. They've caught up that entire gap. I think that at one point there was a 3 or so second gap almost between Saxon and Rondinella. So it's a great effort from them as we see a blue flag car go sailing off around the outside. Good move from the Aston there. Saxon desperately here. Yeah, I think Benny Vintner sitting here. Benny tends to get a bit more aggressive as the race goes on. He's sick of sitting behind other cars. He desperately wants some clear air, going around the outside, possibly looking for a bit of a fake, sucking inside, going to look for a bit of a move down here. Benny Vintner going super narrow. He's got the overlap, going inside on the turn and leaving Rondinella no room. He's squeezed him right to the outside of the track. Benny Vintner is absolutely setting it on fire at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. He's done two cars in the same spot over 2 laps, so well done. I love that move, and I do it sometimes in the Ford where you just take it a little bit more carefully, signs, and you get a good run on the other side, and then you sneak up on the inside into that long right-hander, sneak up the inside, and it catches people off guard. So yeah, very well done by Ben Vintner, as he was behind these guys by quite a bit at the start of this second stint.
He's caught all the way up, mate. I'm already going to call it. That's my thermal overtake of the night from Benny Vintner. 2 for 1 sale on across 2 laps. What a fantastic set of moves from him, sitting super tight there on the back of Rondinella. Manages to get up the inside there, off the, like, out of nowhere. He just pulled that out. That's a fantastic, fantastic move. We're going to see a bit of a replay here, I think, as well. We've got a Ford sitting tight on the back of it. Can't tell what car we're on board with. I'm so sorry, Benny. We've got another little tap. No, we're spun. It's your purple monster.
And that's Pascal Armstrong, who's also got a DT I saw before. So the DT's coming out towards the end of the race, and Winton, like you said. So, yeah, this track has taken no prisoners, especially towards the end, but yeah, I think that's going to be a drive-through for Pascal Armstrong, and possibly a penalty coming his way for that. So very unfortunate for him to go from leading the Pro-Am class this race to dropping back down to where he is. And we're probably going to see a continuation of this Rondinella-Hayes battle in the final 8 minutes of this race. These guys have been basically glued together for the entirety of this race so far, and that GTR, as long as he can close on the straight, he's having some no, are we at a
we're back?
Okay, things are happening. I think
we're okay.
Having some internet issues and maybe the stream as well, but yeah, there's that penalty for Pascal Armstrong.
Glad that we're not disconnected for the race. Everyone breathe. It's okay. Rondinella is running wide into this. It's a very interesting line to try and take. He's going to be super slow to this next turn. PC is having a moment, says Benny Hignett. Bignett, it's okay, mate. You do everything for us. We are super thankful that we are still here watching the racing. Saxon Hayes is going to be using all of that stretching ability of the GTR here, that raw pace to try and find a way around Rondinella, starting to fill his mirrors. You got to think Jaden doesn't want to be caught off guard again. I reckon, as you said before, Benny Vincent are kind of stuck up on him. I reckon he's just sitting there looking in that rear vision mirror. All of a sudden, the Aston might not have been there, and he was looking for where it went and found him in his right side mirror with an overlap into that turn. So he's going to be trying to, I think, defend a little bit. He's watching Benny Vincent go off into the distance. He's now going to start defending like a lion, trying not to let the GTR of Saxon past, but it's going to be tough on this straight now with Saxon sitting 0.3 behind. There's going to be a filthy big toe coming here.
Yeah, and these guys are very likely all in the same voice chat, so they'll be poking little jabs at each other and making fun of each other for their mistakes. But here comes Saxon in that GTR. Rondinella is going to hold very defensive. No room for Saxon on the inside. He's going to have to take the outside. They're going to go too wide into signs. This could end badly as they head through very clean racing from both of them as they hold equally side by side. Saxon slightly ahead for the braking zone. Oh, there's contact. No! Loopty might hold it. Loopty has held it, but that is possibly a penalty on the way for one of those guys, as they just both kind of connect into each other. Maybe the voice chat right now is not so hot.
We were just complimenting them for the clean racing. We're going to get a replay up for you just in a moment. Everyone sort of sit back, take a breath, and just wait until we get a different glimpse on this. Super, super tough to call what was going on there. It's a really hard overtaking spot into signs. F's in the chat for these two wonderful racers who are mates, so I'm sure no one will be throwing their toys out of the cot. Possibly just a little bit upset. It's a really tough one, and I think you've spent a bit of time as a steward here, Squirrels, as well, so you could probably give us a steward's perspective on what's happened here. We've got two cars going side by side. Rondinella has the inside line where all that grip is. We can't even see him now, but there is just enough of an overlap, and he's going to push there. It's really tough to call. Where's your head at?
I'm going to say that it's also very tough to call, and I honestly have no idea what the outcome for that one is going to be. I'll leave that to the stewards, who I'm sure are also kind of thankful that they now have something to do, because Logan was saying in the chat this race has not been particularly thrilling for those guys in the box, so now at least they have something to look at. But yeah, with just over 5 minutes left, that is not really what the outcome that you want from that sort of battle.
Yeah, Fundine pointing out now the Popo is back on pursuit. Rondinella, Saxon, put your lights and sirens on, mate. That could be a punishable offence. It's tough to call, hey. It's really, really tough. But we're going to see Hayes, Mr. Saxon Hayes now, pursuing the car of Buskovus as well. Gonna try, and there we go. Rondinel, 15-second penalty. I don't think he had overlap. I think that's what's going to be the problem. So he should have backed off. Didn't have that wheel-to-wheel.
Yeah, I don't think there is quite enough overlap, and I think that's what the stewards have agreed with. I'm sure they'll let us know in the chat. But we're still seeing moves going on here as Ryan King goes around the outside at Signs on Steve Lewis.
And Zach Jensen basically drifting his way around Signs in the GTR there. Got JC calling for everyone to throw the book at Loopty. Saxon Hayes as well, the copper and the steward. Maybe there's a bit of insider trading and some bribes under the table here to keep Saxon out of it. Hard to tell if he turned across. I'm glad that we get to be objective and neutral here in the commentary box. It's my favourite position to be in. So we're watching Zach Jensen managing to keep it on the track. A little bit of tail wagging from a happy Nissan there. Managing to stay hard on the tail there, though, of King, and who is just behind Lewis. So we've got a little procession of Pro-Ams with a silver. Bit of a Pro-Am silver sandwich as we've got King just taking that 12th spot now. And we've got 3 Pro-Ams now fighting with less than 2 seconds between them for the top spot of that class.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a bit of a train that's formed. After an hour of racing, these guys are all pretty much within a second of each other. So that is great job by all of them. And this is also, like you said, for the lead of Pro-Am. So there is something definitely at stake here. And that 15-second for Jaden is going to drop him quite a few positions, possibly even out of the top 10. But Porsche of Murphy's just gone a little bit wide on the exit, and now Jensen can open up this GTR right behind Steve Lewis, who I think is going to be pretty vulnerable here, unless he can run side by side with that GTR into Science. But I don't think he's going to have the opportunity, as the GTR is now also picking up the toe off the McLaren of Ryan King in front. Yeah, he's going to get the move done before they head into Science. So Zach Jensen up another position into the lead of the Pro-Am Championship, or Pro-Am positions for this race.
Yeah, I couldn't talk there, mate, because I had deja vu watching a Nissan and a McLaren go side by side into Signs. Surely it couldn't happen 2 laps in a row. I'm glad that we sorted each other out on the straights. Zach Jensen takes the position, makes the move. Well done. And we see a little bit of a happy slappy tail there from the Nissan.
Yeah. Although Jensen's done well, because I think he started a little bit further down on the grid, so he's definitely made up his positions and kind of kept his nose clean while there's been a few little incidents surrounding him. But yeah, Raupi still holding off Lucas Keys, which is not something I really expected. I thought Lucas might be able to close that gap coming into the final laps, but Lucas still 2.9 seconds off the back of that Ford. So Lucas, as it currently stands, going to go from last to third, which is still a good effort, but I have seen him do some last to first in the past, so yeah, not good enough, Lucas. SMH.
Where are we on the track, Benny? Are we going to get another lap in, or are they? I can't quite see where they're at. Car 12, it doesn't look like we're going to get that final lap in here, but we are going to watch a bit of an overtake of him here, made by a Mustang around the outside of an Aston, I believe that is.
Oh, I think that's a BMW and
Beamer.
BMW. I think both BMWs, they go through Science, and well, that's possibly Ryan Anderson and someone else, maybe. I'm not entirely sure though.
Wanted to go wide on that. Is such an easy track limit to hit, but gets the move done. But then we have the switchback, the raw yellow BMW sitting on the inside there, taking that. We've gone crisscross applesauce on each other. Some ankles have been broken, but we're managing to just keep fighting it out right through to the line. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, that's way too deep on the brakes. Yeah. Oh, that's heartbreaking, especially after overtaking someone and then immediately losing the position. But yeah, I bet that ding-dong battle is going to keep going until the line. So, good job to those drivers for keeping it fairly clean there. As Paul Brett heads down the Mistral straight for the last time, and Saxon Hayes is a bit closer to the back of Stan Buskovus. He's about 7 tenths coming out of turn 1. Will he be able to close that gap before the Mistral straight? I don't think so, but I'm always willing to be proven wrong here. So if he can nail his lines, he can pull up that gap. And Steve Lewis has a drive-through on the last lap, which he is now.
Last lap. Steve,
That's
it's going to see him lose the podium there too for the Pro-Am. Stan Buskovitz in the Why Not McLaren is going to try everything he can, look for every inch of it. I reckon his accelerator pedal is going through the floor at the moment as he tries to accelerate away from Saxon Hayes in the JDM Nissan police car. But it's going to get closer. He's making up a little bit of time. We're waiting for the timing tower to update, but he's still 0.7 behind. He's not going to get it done in this straight. 0.3, he's pulled in half a second on the straight there with the toe and the big long legs of that Nissan. But it might not be enough. Oh, he's hit track limits there.
Yeah, that'll be a cut there, but he's taking that tactically so he can pull up close to the back of this McLaren. As Paul Brett crosses the line first, followed by Gareth Ralpy and Lucas Keys not far behind. And this battle is going to continue down to the line, but I think Stan Buskovitz is going to be able to hold that GTR off unless he makes a pretty significant mistake. If only Saxon had one more lap, I reckon he'd be able to get this done. He's going to stick the nose in, just try to put Buskovitz off into this second last corner, but he's not going to have enough distance alongside to send one into the final corner as Lele, Vintner and Rondinella come past the line, followed by Buskovitz and Hayes, as we just saw. Then is Piper in the Audi. Well done to him for getting that, for surviving driving that
surviving
Audi.
In the Audi.
For
that's
1 hour.
Very, very good effort. Yeah, for 1 hour. That's I think it's actually been used as an ancient form of torture. So he's done pretty well to hold that together. We're seeing we're actually going to see some of these penalties kick in too, as for where people finish up on the grid. But what a fantastic race. There was just enough action, and exactly as we said earlier in the race, there was that real pack-driven racing, courtesy of the big long back straight here. We're watching McDowell in the Porsche guy's car sit hard on the tail, but not going to make that move. But whoa, we see the Mustang go take the inside line. Very, very well driven from all of these drivers tonight for the opener of the Thermaltake Sprint Series. Fantastic little race here.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, good mix of sort of all kinds of action there, and we had quite a lot of action on track as well with those packs, like you said. So Paul Britt's going to take the win here, followed by Raupi. Well done to him for being a silver driver, and I would say that either him or Vintner would be my driver of the day if I had to pick one. Raupi, obviously, for kind of sticking it to Paul Britt, who, as race control says, a promotion is probably on the way. So Raupi definitely getting a bit of fighting done, and obviously Ben Vintner for those excellent moves towards the end of the race. Who would I'm going to guess your drivers of the day is going to be Ben Vintner, but
yeah, there's no way around it for me. Benny Vintner, thermal overtake of the night, and just such an incredible stint from him. And with the way the class system works, as an academy driver coming into sprints, I'm still getting used to it. But I think we need to swap Raupi out into pro. But it's got to be a tit for tat sort of thing. So we'll have to pull Gobi back out of pro. Is that how it works?
No, he can stay.
No, I know.
I agree. I definitely agree.
There we go. I just saw Gobi came up in chat, so I had to get in there and make sure that we keep everyone on their toes. But yeah, fantastic race for me. It was absolutely Benny Vintner that took the driver of the evening. What a fantastic drive! But massive shout out to the battle pack of Hayes, Loop Deal, Rondinella, and Vintner. What a great set of racing with just a minor slip up from the two boys at the end.
Yeah, of course, and we're going to look at our overall results here now. So we got Paul Britt taking the win in that Ferrari, Gareth Raupi in P2 with that promotion on the way, I reckon. Lucas Keys from around about last to third, so that's good effort from him, followed by Lele, Vintner, Buskovitz, Hayes, Piper, Rondinella, who takes P9, so not quite dropped out of the top 10, but dropped quite a few positions from where he was, and Marshall, which is rounding out the top 10. Heading over to silver, we obviously have Raupi in that P1, so that'll be a good start to the championship for him, followed by Piper and King. Then for Pro-Am, we have Zach Jensen, who kind of came through to take the win sort of out of nowhere, as he wasn't quite in that leading battle right until the end. So well done to Zach for keeping his nose clean for the race and taking out that Pro-Am win, followed by Harry Murphy and Joe Spenceley in the Pro-Am. And for Am, Jay Marshall taking out the win, beating out Brian and Kranich to the line. So that was split yellow of the Thermaltake Sprint Series here at Paul Ricard. Next up, we have split green, so stick around for that. I believe Gobby and I'm not exactly sure who else is commentating, but I'm sure they'll
Cam as well.
Okay.
Thistlethwaite.
Now Thistlethwaite's back in the box. I see. All right.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and very much looking forward to the season and series ahead. Massive shout out to the wonderful Bignett, Benny Hignett on the cams. Huge shout out to all of the drivers and the stewards and everything for race 1. Stick around for the wonderful race 2. You've got Gobi, the pro driver, out and out placement. And then you've also got Cam Thistlethwaite, who will be seeing you through the rest of your night. Thank you, Mr. Squirrels. Thanks for your time. I look forward to seeing you next week as well.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you too. See ya.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Octane Online Racing, Season 23, Round 1 of the Thermaltake Sprint Series. We're back here at Split Green, and it's been a while since we've gone racing, but we are back. My name is Tim Gobe, and joining me in the box today is Cam Tittlethwaite. And if some of you have been watching since Split Yellow, you'd be familiar with Benjamin Hignett. Cam Tittlethwaite, how are you?
I'm very well, Tim, and yeah, lovely to be here. Here, Paul Ricard, Season 1. It's going to be Season 1? Race 1, I'm already getting things wrong, but yeah, lovely to get the race start. Not my most favourite track, but it's, I have to say, good track for racing. I'm pretty excited to see what things done, but I dare say we've got a pretty ominous person here in the 326 car who, dare say, is the favourite for this split.
Our own Felipa Bukita. She is back for some more racing at Octane Online Racing. It's good to see her. Hopefully some of these drivers will be able to put up some competition against her, but we all know how quick she is in ACC. She has represented Australia in the past, so this should be some good racing here at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, it's not my most favorite track to drive. I think to be honest, it's actually not too bad as a single lap, but with the straight as well, it does actually provide some good racing. Out of the first chicane between turns 1 and 2 to run down to 3, if you got enough boost in your car, especially if you're a GTR, you can definitely get a move done here and there. The long right-hander of Bosset as well, followed by the scenes before that as well. We've seen some good racing, and we saw some good little battles here at the start of Split Yellow as well. It petered off a little bit towards the end, as things naturally do, as the cars are spread out. But it was a close fight up the top, and of course we had Lucas Keys coming through the field to end up taking P3 at the end of the day.
It was a very, very entertaining race to watch, I will say. Let's hope Split Green keeps it up. We've got some pretty big splits this season. Well, at least for the start of the season, I think Split Green, yeah, even Green has a lot of drivers. Last season, the attendance wasn't quite there, but it looks like this season we've got a very, very healthy grid here, and this should bring us some very exciting racing, like you said. You know, Paul Ricard, I personally really enjoy the track. Hot lapping is a bit but for racing, it's just, for me at least, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic track to race on, especially if your adversaries are around the same pace as you, so you're always switching position, especially with Mistral. So this should be a very good race as long as these guys can keep it clean during lap 1. We saw Split Yellow kept it clean. Let's see if Split Green can keep it clean. But as I say that, Pip's already out and done a 152.7, well clear in P1 at the moment, followed by Jacob Maggs, about
already
7 tenths behind.
Split Yellow's pole time. Already. Philippa, we're gonna have words. It's lovely to see you back, and it's lovely to see you on form as always. Why we should be surprised? You know, it's just a constant. It's a dating point in the whole in the timeline. Philippa must go fast, but Hignett there typing in chat as well. I'm not too sure. It might get a telling off from the race director saying such things, but it is qualifying right now. We're seeing a smattering of Ferraris up the top. Mags there, Rasciuti as well. I think John Hislop as well, our own Chupatelli up there. So lovely to see Damiano Fercolini in his staple. I love he runs the same livery as well, and it's a fantastic livery. You know, we're livery nerds. We can appreciate that, but he's always run this livery for as long as I've ever been racing him as well. It is a top tier livery, I have to say.
It is an extremely beautiful livery. Unfortunately, he's not quite in the car for this track. And obviously, some tracks will be stronger for other cars and weaker on others. Unfortunately, for the Porsche, it is not exactly the best track, as we have, I think, the second longest straight in ACC. And that would be Mistral. And the Porsche does tend to suffer a little bit there. Another car that I found out suffers a bit, actually, is perhaps the AMG. I'm not a big AMG. My knowledge of the AMG is not that good, but I heard it's not exactly the quickest down the straight, but it doesn't matter with Pippa. She is currently 4 tenths up, and this is going to be a low 52. It's going to be a 52.307 for Felipa Bukita. Honestly, I think she just can go back into the pit at this point. She doesn't need to quali anymore. She's a second and a half, 1.2 seconds clear of P2, which is Jacob Maggs, but another driver that's really, really gone up in the ranks recently is Trufatelli, John Hislop here. He's currently sitting in P3 with a 53.9. So let's see what he can do, as he's currently 3/10 up down the start-finish straight, and that should be good enough. Yeah, for 53.6, not quite good enough for P2, but it just gives him that extra breathing room to hold on to P3.
For sure as well. Yeah, it's great to see Trufatelli there. Philip, I believe, not doing another lap. But yeah, I believe the Mercedes not too great. It's a little bit draggy at the top end, so not the best top speed. I don't think it'll probably be the worst. Obviously, we talked about a Porsche. I'm not too sure if Porsche is still the slowest car on the straight meme that it is. It always is and was, and obviously depending on your downforce levels does come into it for sure. What we're seeing now, Damiano Furcolini, the 844, approaching 7/10 up on his Delphi, rounds the final corner, arguably the best corner for the Porsche, because you get the power down straight away and the great acceleration from the 4-litre flat 6 straight up to P7 there, just a smidge behind the gaggle of Ferraris that make up from P2 to P6. 5 Ferraris, Mags, Hislop, Ricciuti and Saim as well. Dare say a little bit one to watch on this one. Split yellow is normally our Ferrari split, but it looks like they've all migrated to the big bad split green.
A lot of Ferraris, and actually the Ferrari is very, very strong here. It's got very good downforce, but as well as top speed-wise. Sure, the acceleration is not great, but that straight is so long, especially when you're in a slipstream. It actually fights with some of the cars that have the higher top speeds. It's actually very, very strong here. So wouldn't be surprised. I'm not really surprised to see basically a Ferrari 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the top 10. So it's, like I said, not a big surprise to see them up there.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, definitely for sure. See, El Marvel here. I'm not too familiar with this driver, and potentially a newcomer here. Dare say with the AM badge as well. I'm not sure if it's one of our rookies promoted to the series, but a BMW, our only BMW for this split, up into P4, and that's quite a statement, I have to say. Does park it in the box for now. It is time to go again, but I've noticed he hit Paul Ricard, not the best lap for not the best on the first time lap. You need usually I think the second time lap's always the better way to go here. So if he does go out again, I don't think he'll get the best time out of his tires. But we see here Martin here, one of our Brunei brethren, and they're coming along 4/10 up, nearly 5/10, and we'll go up into P9 as well in the silver class.
We're seeing very competitive fields. Just like last season, this season as well. It's very, very close up top. If we ignore Felipe, obviously, League of Our Own, I can only think of a couple of the drivers that can compete with her. And even then, she just tends to win out most of the time. But as we're now looking at Barker, currently sitting in P8, but he is 4/10 up. He's still in the 54, so perhaps we're going to see a 53 here as he keeps it clean around. What corners? My track map does not have corner numbers.
The village right now, but it was big slow. I'm not too sure.
I do not want to start pronunciating the French corner names. Everyone's going to be a bit confused if I start speaking French on stream. But I have found a new track map. But as I say that, he's now gone down the start-finish straight, and that's going to be a 53.7, putting him up into P4 provisionally, as there's still a lot of other drivers currently on their time lapse. As we're now looking at another new name. I've never seen this name before, but it's Bartoletti, and he's currently 3/10 up. He has lost out a bit around turn 10, but let's see if he can gain around turn 12 and 13. He still has 2 corners to manage. So far, looking like he is gaining, and he's gaining a little bit. Let's see in the final corner. He does gain on entry there, but tends to lose out on the exit, but still almost over 2.5 up. That's going to be good enough for P24 with 155.4.
Very, very impressive. And thank you to Ryan, I believe Ryan Anderson in chat. Marvel P4 in his first race. He's from Academy, so thank you for confirming that. Yeah, that's an amazing debut so far. Race is still to come, obviously. It's just one session. There's going to be 6 rounds in this calendar with a finale as well. I believe taking the best result, the top results from this season and the previous season, if I've not done my homework probably correctly, but should be exciting. But yeah, 6 weeks in a row as well, something that we normally don't have for sprints in previous seasons. We normally have a gap, but with it's coming to the end of the year, it's gonna set us off nicely for that Christmas break as the Ferrari slides through.
Of a Tokyo drift in the back there as we're not looking at Jack Miller, which is looking like he's running a bit of a Pidgey racing team color scheme here. He doesn't have a full livery that looks like an in-game livery, but I think the Pidgey boys are really starting to pick all these quick drivers and bring them into their team, so that's good on them. That's looking like they're going to be very competitive in the Enduros coming up in the future. But Jack Miller, not in the Porsche anymore, decided to hop into the McLaren, currently sitting on a 154.1, as he does not manage to improve this time out, but he just crossed the line in time to perhaps do another flying lap, and let's see if he can improve, as we're looking at Felipe here, still comfortably in P1. It'd be a miracle if any of these other drivers managed to snatch it from her, but she's currently doing a show lap, just a glory lap, just wants to drive around in the big Merc.
Yep, definitely showcasing the colors of BS Plus competition as well. Normally, we're usually used to seeing them in the BMW, but dare say that has been parked for this season by the looks of things, and Philippa preferring the AMG. And it's AMG is so hard to call because I think it is a very quick car, but it's very hard to achieve it. And generally, you only see like the cream of the crop that can extract that kind of pace out of it. And dare say I was never one of them, but Fercolini there, right up into P5 as well, our top Porsche, as we should expect from Damiano. But yeah, P5, but still 1.5 seconds to pole. It pretty much it was a close fight, bar Philippa with a 1.2 second lead. But we cut back to Jack Miller here in the 21 as he rounds through the McLaren. A pretty decent car around here. We saw a few quick McLarens today, caught the bump on the inside of the curb, but got away with it, holding the line tight, doesn't go too wide and starts off too much speed, getting, holding about a 1.2 tenths in the whole thing. Oh, a big slide there. If we run into first gear, you don't really want to be going down to first gear in the McLaren, especially unless it's a really high radius corner. He's still got that 10th in his pocket as he rounds now into Virage du Pont in for turn 10. An inside curve again, but it doesn't matter here.
That's going to gain him
surely.
Like 3 spots, around 3 spots, perhaps at least 2 spots. Oh, it's actually gotten him like 4 spots. What a lap from Jack Miller. Good final lap from him, and he's managed to get himself into P8, so that's a solid effort. I did want to mention here, if we look here at P17, we've got our very own Matt Powell racing in split green, so I'm looking forward to see what one of our admins here is capable to do in split green. See if he can get himself into the gauntlet, see what he can do, and show these drivers what the admin team can do.
Absolutely, for sure. As we run through the grid here, we get to see a lot of great liveries as well. Obviously, we've talked about BS Plus, done by the amazing liveries. Kmart 296, I think we've seen Mags champion that one before, but still very lovely, harkening back to those V8 Supercars days. I want to call the driver, but I'm scared of getting it wrong and inquiring the wrath of someone like Sean Muller, who will surely get me for it. Lap of the Gods car, I know that much, but yeah, number 296, talking about Shark livery, the Milwaukee car, Barker's always champions for a long time as well. So for King Slow is a sort of a two-tone purple and white Damiano. We've already waxed lyrical about him. He running his lovely sort of petal leaf front half with sort of the stars on the back. Very nice.
We've seen some very nice liveries in split yellow, and we're seeing some very nice liveries in split green as well. A lot of artists behind the scenes here making these liveries happen. That Ferrari on the right, I really like that as well. But just red and black just goes so well together. I don't know what it is about between red and black, but it just works. It just works.
Yeah, it is definitely a solid combination, especially for race cars as well in particular. It goes well on many things. A bit more traditional Ferrari colors. I think that was probably either this year's or last year's Ferrari. I can't remember because they're all a bit bland, frankly.
Look at the amber with the little mask. Mint green's not a color I've really seen much in OR, but I think it's a very, very nice color, and I think that's Underwood actually. I think that's actually an in-game livery. But the pattern of it itself is very, very nice. Just needs a couple sponsor logos here and there. It'd be a fantastic livery.
I believe that's Bishop there on the right. He's run those colours as well with the British GT banner as well. Like I recognise that car even on the Aston Martin. A few more default liveries as we're starting to peter back. But I know we talked about Matt Powell as well. He's always championed the Bentley for the few times I've seen him race, and lovely to see him here. Lovely to see a Bentley. I believe there's 4 of them across the 3 ACC splits. Obviously tomorrow we'll be having LMU in place of the early split, followed by the split red of ACC, which you will be racing in.
And proving that I am not a pro driver, but that's out of the question. We're not looking at our very own Matt Powell. I'm really expecting big things from him. He is part of the reason I am pro. So I'm keeping my eye on you, Matt. And I hope you have a very, very good race as the drivers now head out for their formation laps. Hopefully Matt has remembered which one's the accelerator and which one is the brake. He has mentioned he has to remember which pedal is which. So let's hope he does remember for the race. But you know what? The Bentley for the in-game liveries has some of the nicest patterns I've seen. I really like that.
Yeah, based on the 2020 Bathurst 12-hour winning livery as well, just to give it even more kudos, but it would have been amazing regardless of it won or not. But yeah, definitely Bentley got some cracking liveries out there. Not the best car to paint on, I will say though. It was pretty cut up into pieces, but a lot of cars fall into that category. As we start our formation lap, just to cover our format as well, obviously 60-minute race, 1 mandatory stop for fuel, but a fixed 25-second stop, so it's only 5 seconds extra if you want to take tyres, and 6 p.m. race time as well. Obviously we've got a few minutes already, but yeah, it looks like pretty fair conditions. Obviously no chance of rain. It's a fixed dry race before the start of the season.
I've never driven Paul Ricard in the wet. I think signs would be interesting to say the least in the wet, especially in, let's say, flooded conditions. That would be a very, very interesting corner, and I assume very, very scary because they're now going down that Mistral. A lot of drivers weaving left and right, trying to get heat into those tires. We have race control having flashbacks, so I'm imagining Ben Hignett has raced this track in the wet, and I'm guessing it wasn't particularly a fun time.
Yep. I will say I'd like to remember it, but we come here so often as well. It's such a staple for now. Octane Online Racing Series. It is great to have Paul Ricard. I think it's converted a lot of people, and definitely with us running it quite often as well. I think it's definitely one as they start to go double file. I dare say you had me right as well. I can't remember the last time it was wet here. I think back in season 8, I remember we had a wet race here. Back in when I drove the 488, and it was a very lovely car, I have to say, in the wet.
In my days, we had to drive Paul Ricard in the wet.
Yeah. Absolutely. Last fall from you, Gobby.
Was all rain. I'm so jealous you got to do the enduro at Paul Ricard. I absolutely love racing this track. But anyways, I'm gonna give it to you, Cam. You get the lucky draw to do the start of the race, so it's all you.
Thank you, Gobby, and dare say, best of wishes. Happy birthday to Gobby. It's big, it's mean, it's time for split green, though, here at Paul Ricard at the Le Castellet. And it's going to be Philippa Bokita that holds the 5 red lights, waiting for the green. There it is. And Jacob Max has a decent start as well, runs alongside there, Philippa. But it's 3 wide in the background between the 3 Ferraris of Hislop, Barker and Ricciuti, with Fercolini just there behind as well. As already cones have been smattered there, I believe, by the Pidgey McLaren of Jack Miller. As a round turn 2, looks like Jacob Max under pressure there. There's already a few going wide there, Fercolini, but no spinners. Oh, I spoke too soon. I believe that's Callum Lloyd in the Audi, and it's already been collected by another car, but it's going to be Barker ahead of Ricciuti into turn 4 as well. It's going to be a pretty clean start over all things, but I don't think we've got a safety car at the expense of, unfortunately, there, Callum Lloyd.
You know what? It could have gone worse. These drivers managed to bring the car back straight. We got a couple stragglers at the back, but nothing too dramatic, as we're now looking at Jack Miller down the Mistral Straight, followed closely by Turcolini as our cameraman is furiously going for the cameras to find Felipe Bukita, already with a 0.8 lead over Jacob Maggs. I think that is good enough to keep that Ferrari behind. This 0.8 is where you start getting slipstream, but it's very, very minimal, so not quite enough for the Ferrari to catch up, as we now have Jack Miller now up to P6, already gained 2 positions. Again, followed by Turcolini up to P7. We get a bit of 2 wide there, down Sainz, even 3 wide, I think I saw in the background there. But all these drivers so far keeping it mostly clean, apart from the turn 2 incident, I dare say. But Luke Marvel, unfortunately, falling down a bit, but still in the top 10. Perhaps trying to keep it clean. It is a 1-hour race with a pit stop. So, as we do have a big contact at the back, it looked like a car going into the wall there. We'll have to get a replay of that. But so far for Luke Marvel himself, he's had a good start to his sprint season.
Yep, definitely a very good start. But we got a safety car now as well. So the secondary contact that you were mentioning definitely was big enough to trigger that one. Interesting to see that happen as well, but it is going to be still Bokita ahead of Mags with Hislop there in third as well. But yeah, obviously we saw Marvel lose a few positions, but I think that's to be a little expected. Maybe a little bit of nerves as he transitions from academy to sprints. It is definitely a different step in the right direction, I want to say. But yeah, it's a lot to deal with. And you know, you never want to, you don't want to tread on a few toes just before race. So we're seeing a replay here now of the Audi of Callum Lloyd as he negotiates. He looks like he's in the middle between 2 cars, and unfortunately understeers straight into the blue and black McLaren, and they're caught by the second McLaren at the back of the field. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, I think he might get away with too much damage, and hopefully we can see how that one goes. It looks like they have boxed as well, them and car 30.
I'm not sure if... I know sometimes the RD does not let you pit on the safety car, but this, if they do pit, it will clear their pit stops unless they decided not to add fuel and just to fix damage. But perhaps the RD's letting it go, but if they did pit, this will give them... dare I say,
Luke Marvel.
Is that a Ferrari spot? Oh, he did not hold the brakes.
Oh,
no. That's
yeah, that's pretty bad to say the least. Yeah, it looks like car 30 was on the inside of Marvel. I don't want to say I don't know if there was actually contact between the two, or if there was any race room given. Obviously, it'll be left to the stewards if it has been called. I believe that was Waffrey's Ferrari that were following, and we see a McLaren here as we followed on board. I'm guessing going to find the carnage as we see the Ferrari kind of slides wide and then just understeers straight back into the racing line. There's nothing that the McLaren there could do. That's Bishop. He didn't find the wall, but surely a lot of front damage, and you really need every bit of downforce here, Paul Ricard.
That was a pretty hefty whack, but good to see that he managed to keep it out of the wall. As we do get another message from Racer Grove, safety car has been deployed. So I'm wondering if they are going to do another lap on the safety car, or perhaps that was a mistake. But we will see. There you go. The safety car is coming in this lap. So now Pip will have control of the field, and she gets to say when to go. So she is still waiting. She's waiting for that very last second, and now she goes. She waited right before the timing line before going, and probably catching a lot of these drivers. Can I say napping? But a driver that's actually reacted well to that is Damiano, now jumping Jack Miller. But Jack Miller trying to fight back, but Damiano has made that move stick and is now ahead of Jack Miller for P6. That was very... I forgot the word. I'm thinking of a word. Obviously, I apologize to our dear viewers. English is not my first language. That's the reason why I don't play Wordle. It would be a disaster. That was sneaky from Pip. She knew the rule very well. She decided to wait until the very before the just the timing line, and then decided to go. So that was very, very sneaky, and in fact she has managed to build a pretty significant gap already, 6/10 up on Mags, but 6 is a lot closer than 8/10, so maybe that Ferrari might get enough of a slipstream to catch her, but don't think he will, as they go around signs now. Lots of cars down Mistral again, but so far not looking like we're getting any too wide action, as we're now looking at Underwood currently sitting in P8 in the mint and black Lamborghini. Now that's another car that struggles a bit on the straights. Good in the corners, like the Porsche, but down a straight line is very, very vulnerable. But he's managed to hold off the McLaren of, I think that's the McLaren of, who is it? No, it wasn't the McLaren, it was the Ferrari of CMM, followed by the BMW of Marvel. He's going to try and look onto a move onto Jack Miller, as Philippa does get the fastest lap with a 154.2. Obviously, she has waited until the timing line before going, so we expect much, much faster times. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a 52 during the race. We've seen Lucas Keys get a 52.7 on the race trim, so I wouldn't be surprised if she manages very similar times. But we're now looking at John Hislop, currently sitting in P3, hunting down Jacob Maggs. He is very close, so perhaps we're going to see a move from Ciuffatelli down the Mistral Straight, as they now go around Filippa leading the pack. And Chuff is right there. He's very, very close, so I wouldn't be surprised if he manages to make a mistake, as Maggs is not close enough to Filippa to get his own slipstream, as we're now on board with Risciuti, currently getting hunted down by Turcolini. But as we can see, that Ferrari still pulling away from that poor Porsche. Turcolini trying to hold on, he's just not quick enough down the straight to keep up with Risciuti. In fact, he's getting caught by Jack Miller here. In fact, they're almost bumper to bumper as they go around signs, but he's managed to hold off for this lap.
Yeah, definitely. It's always quite difficult on the Ferraris as well to overtake a fellow Ferrari. It's never easy in any car. As Cam Lloyd there gets a 10-second penalty for causing a collision on lap 1, and dare say that's what we saw, as he unfortunately did kind of unfortunately run into one McLaren and then another. I think the second one was really kind of no one's fault, to say the least. But was trying to avoid the action, but unfortunately was caused the action as well. But as the stewards have decided, let's see, Risciuti here, on the tail of this quartet of Ferraris. Filippa Nikita already into the 52s in race pace. Interesting to see what she does for strategy as well. Already building 2.2 seconds as well lead over Jacob Maggs. We kind of thought it was going to happen, and it looks like it has. She was going to decimate. Who'd have thought, to say the least. But Jack Miller here, still on the coattails of Damiano Fercolini. And Fercolini needs to be a little bit careful on this one, because McLaren's pretty good, like the Ferrari. It is pretty slippery on the straights. It's may not have necessarily the power and the grunt too much. Let's see a replay here. Is it Aston Martin or the McLaren that we saw at the start? Unfortunately, get contact with Cam Lloyd. Goes up the inside, over the inside curve. That's pretty normal, but then unfortunately just asks a bit too much, and then unfortunately understeers into the Aston Martin and finds a barrier as well. Not too sure who those drivers were, but dare say we're going to find out pretty shortly who that McLaren is via the stewards.
Pretty sure that's the McLaren of Chris Murphy. That livery reminds me of the Bathurst 12 Hours. I think that's that snake pattern livery that Kovacs Purple was running, so I think that McLaren was Chris Murphy.
And he probably did a laps the first challenge, and unfortunately found something straight at turn 1 as well in the first lap, and now even more has gone wrong as well.
We do have notes from RD saying, just a heads up, that car number 30 still needs to do a pit stop, as he did his mandatory pit stop under SC. So like I mentioned earlier, they're not allowed to do their mandatory stops under safety car, so that driver will have to come in again to do his pit stop.
I think that's going to be the least of their problems as well, because we did see that car not really hold their brakes and cause a... there we go. It was imminent. We saw the other penalty come through. It was bound at the time that Wafri's drive through for unsafe rejoin on lap 1. The contact with the red Ferrari we saw didn't hold their brakes and affected many cars, to say the least. And not really fair as well for him to serve his penalty, serve his mandatory under the box as well. So he will have to do that again, or probably face a disqualification, I imagine.
Either that or a very hefty penalty, like a 30-second or so penalty.
Not good to be in the bad books on race 1 in the first 10 minutes.
The problem is now they've done their mandatory. Could they perhaps be sneaky, or is RD monitoring that car specifically once they come in the pits again, and making sure they actually do at least a 25-second pit stop? So I'm actually curious on how they do it. If they time the car as soon as he stops, is he stationary for at least 25 seconds, or has he decided, you know what, I'm just gonna put 1 liter of fuel and then go again, and then it's the quicker pit stop anyways. But we're now looking again at Thermaltake. It just cannot catch that Ferrari, even as close as he is. We can see the Ferrari's very slightly pulling away. Oh, he's a bit squirmy at signs though. It's a three-way battle here for what looks to be P5. Jack Miller also right there. In fact, that Ferrari is probably the reason why Jack Miller can't quite get around that Porsche, but he's getting really close to doing so. But now it's going to be a three-way battle for P5, and Ricciuti will be leading it.
Yeah, definitely one to watch. As we were talking there, we saw Fercolini, who was in the slipstream of the Ferrari, but as soon as he got out of it, you could see the Ferrari started to pull away again. It just hits the wall of air, and not ideal there for the Porsche driver. There's a lot going to be asked, but we does seem like Ricciuti maybe a little bit struggling a little bit. And not. I was a bit expecting Ricciuti to kind of be like maybe one of the best of the rest in this split. Obviously with Philippa, see Ferrari at 43 up the inside of Godfrey is Honda there, and he bounces, spins, nearly gets another car as well. But thankfully, no one else was caught up in that one. But dare say it might be a bit self-inflicted. We'll leave it to the stewards, we don't call it. We go back now to Fercolini and Ricciuti as well. See as they navigate these last couple of corners, these few little tricky curves before the main straight. See there, Jack Miller, a little bit of understeer as well. Just falls back about a little bit. See there, Chris Murphy, I think you call it right. There was the purple McLaren 15-second penalty for causing a collision on lap 5. There's now Fercolini all over the back of Ricciuti. I'm not sure if Ricciuti really seems to be struggling there, but the problem is like Fercolini, he doesn't want to be this close at the very start of the straight. You need to kind of build up that speed. You need to build up that extra speed to slingshot past the car. And the problem is if you catch them straight away at the start of the straight, you just have to pull out. You can't go through the car. And then the Ferrari will ultimately get ahead on top speed anyway. So yeah, not ideal. It must be quite frustrating for Damiano.
I think the main problem is just the Porsche. It's just nothing you can do. That car, it's a fantastic car, but at this track it just seems to struggle. Even being so close to the Ferrari, any other cars would have been able to get around, but the Porsche just doesn't seem to be able to do it. As soon as he gets out that slipstream, he just hits a wall of air, and that Ferrari just pulls away. As we have a driver flashing here, I think I just saw some flashing from CMM here, so unless that's a blue flag car, that is a little bit naughty here from the Ferrari driver. And if the stewards are watching, he may get a warning for it.
I think they're watching now, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they are watching, but I swear I saw that car flashing. As we're now looking at the back of that car, seeing we've got the one and only Luke Marvel also on his rear bumper, trying to get around in the big BMW, the only BMW in this split. So let's see what he can do. He's already in the top 10. That is already a valiant effort in a OOR sprint race. And if he can get past into the top 10, let's say a 948, he's definitely getting a promotion. In fact, even being 10th as an AM, I don't think he's gonna stay in that class for very long, as we're back into that three-way battle for P5. And Damiano just pushing that Porsche to 110%. Using its strength in the corners. He's got the slipstream, but once again, unfortunately, I don't think he'll be able to do it. He does seem to catch a bit at the start, which makes sense for the Porsche. It does get very good acceleration. It just lacks a lot in the top end. Now looking at Matt Powell against another Porsche driver in the big Bentley, and Matt Powell, that is not how you do an overtake, and he spins him around again. So we're expecting to see a bit of a slap from the stewards here onto Matt Powell. So let's see what kind of penalty they give him here. I'm actually very interested, but yeah, it's his first race back in a while. still getting used to the sprints again. He hasn't raced since I think it was trios. I think he raced trios if I remember correctly. In the team called Panzerus. So it'd be quite funny if he got a penalty for that. As we're back onto that Ferrari, it looks like that's CMM, right? It looks like he's got passed by a couple drivers. He has gotten passed by 2 drivers in front of him. That's Luke Marvel and Mateen has gone around. So perhaps a mistake, perhaps it's been done on Mistral. But let's see.
Yeah, we didn't catch that. I did notice that Waffrey is also just ahead of those guys as well. Who is definitely a lap down, so one to watch as we obviously big thanks to Benjamin Higney. Here he is with the replay on demand. Our dare say our camera connoisseurs. See Marvel there, kind of ducks out very last minute, goes on the inside apron, but brakes. Whoa, way more committed. A little bit of a slide as well. The Ferrari gave him the space. He didn't push the Ferrari out wide either, and therefore the McLaren capitalized on that as well. So that was very decisive, but there's a Marvel was not afraid to throw up the inside, and he was right there on the apex. He didn't overshoot the corner. He was, it was in Ferrari. I think was just a little bit tentative there. You see now Ricciardi, Ricciardi as well under threat from Fercolini. As I said, as soon as he pulls out, it's just there isn't anything more to give from the Porsche. It is unfortunate the Ferrari does have those legs. It's a little bit slippy. The mid-engine cars generally have better top end because they just don't have the drag coefficiency of they have better drag coefficiency of these let's say more oddly shaped cars, especially the front engine cars. Not to say the Porsche is dare say an oddly shaped car. It is a little bit.
Damiano will be frustrated with this one. He knows he has the pace, but he just can't make the move on the Ferrari here. So he'd be frustrated, but there's still opportunities. It's a 42-minute. There's still 42 minutes to go. There's still the pit stops to go. He could perhaps look at an undercut, as we do get Matt Powell getting a 15-second penalty for that collision against that Porsche. But another driver that's not managing to get around is Jack Miller. He's still on the rear bumper of Turcolini. So these 2 drivers behind Ricciardi probably starting to get a bit frustrated here. And I know Turcolini to be a very calm and collected driver, but I imagine even he at some point would get frustrated by the disadvantages of his car, and Ricciardi just doing a good job at defending his position at the moment and making sure he's got the proper gap to stay ahead on the straight.
Yeah, definitely doing everything right, everything he needs to. He knows the strengths of his own car, doesn't necessarily over defend. As you see here, Fercolini. It's a thing like, I think unfortunately he wants to ideally catch Ricciardi right as they pretty much get to scenes with the overspeed that he'll get from the slipstream. And unfortunately, he seems to get way better run through turn 4 in the court, and he's catching a Ferrari. There is a little bit of launching back and forth. I know Ricciardi is on a little bit of extra ping, and not too sure where he's racing from these days. It's never ideal as well. ACC is not too great when it comes to high ping, cars kind of warping back and forth at high speed down the straights. They all like to get through scenes pretty evenly, and now into arguably probably the Porsche's one of the stronger parts there. But see Jack Miller there and the McLaren looking to the inside. Oh, gets a little bit wiggly. McLaren has got really good front end, and he can get really up close at the inside into Boset, but can't really get it done. You have to definitely get a little bit of helping from the car that you're trying to overtake if you're going to go up the inside of Boset. But nothing untowards right now. There's a navigate thing, so yeah, it's weird to see Ricciardi kind of just looks like a little bit slipping and sliding, just like kind of seeing a few kind of 4-wheel slides from the car. Like, it's I'm not too sure. It just doesn't look very natural, I have to say. This is what happens when you force the man out of his beloved Lamborghini.
As I look at the timing board right now, we see McLeod has what I think is a self-inflicted drive-through penalty with what I assume would be track limits. So I think we've got our first track limits penalty here at Paul Ricard. Now, track limits here are very interesting. There's parts of the track where they're extremely strict, and then other parts where you can go as wide as you want until obviously you hit these little flappy cone things, and then you'd be off track. So Signs would be one of these corners where you can go as wide as you would want to go, but there's these little flaps, and this is another corner as well where you can pretty much go out of track limits, as some of drivers do, but as these little cones, they're not cones, they're like, I don't know what they're called, but if you hit one of those, that's when you actually get your track limit warning. But before those, you can pretty much go as wide as you would want to go. So interesting track limits wise.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I love a track that's kind of defined by track limits. To see here, Luke Marvel looks like he is getting, unfortunately, passed there by Mateen. I want to say, he's so much more committed into that corner, and Mateen had to kind of took a little bit of avoiding action, but I dare say I don't think it was anything untowards. But I have seen on the other monsters as well, like Luke Marvel, he's going well, but he's had a few little errors here and there, and I think that's why he's fallen behind Underwood and Mateen as well. There's a few little slides here and there. I believe that was a different McLaren who was fighting with. But we come back now, Fercolini. Now, Fercolini, what are you going to do when you come to pit stops? Obviously, mandatory fuel stop, but fixed to 25 seconds. Are you going to take those tyres or not? Because quite frankly, I don't think he wants to keep doing this for the rest of the 37 minutes that we have in this race. As you see, John Hislop now still about 1 second behind there from Jacob Maggs. He's on well for a podium. I'm not too sure if Mr. Hislop has gotten a sprint podium before, or an outright sprint podium, but dare say it could be today is the day for Bin Chicken Racing. John Hislop in the 296. I have to say, I'm kind of gotten used to seeing Mr. Trupatelli in a Porsche of late, but he does like to kind of chop and change here and there. As we cut back to the Fercolini and Retrudy, the battle of the eyes and surnames is a terrible pun from me, to say the least. But we come now onto the straight. Will anything change from Mr. Fercolini? He is a good distance behind. He's still close enough to get that slipstream. Might be too far though to catch the Ferrari enough. I wonder how much wing that Porsche is running, because we have seen some good top end from some Porsches here at Paul Ricard, but I think you do have to chop all the wing off. See Underwood now on the threat again from Luke Marvel. He did lose the position to this Lamborghini, but now going to be really threatening. And now Luke Marvel, we've seen what he's like up the inside of scenes, but now he's going to be the outside. Is he going to even clear the Lamborghini this time? Underwood really I don't want to call him. Luke Marvel's going to lose position, just going wide as well to notice. And the McLaren now off Martin as well, coming up the inside. There's a long way to go around the outside if he wants to get that done. Marvel hold on to P9 there, so that's what's going to go for the stewards. Got to be your thoughts.
It looked like perhaps Underwood did go a bit wide and pushed him off there, but Marvel's just been so committed at the signs. I've been looking at him every opportunity we have, and just just throws that car around. In fact, gets a bit sideways, yet still manages to make the move stick. That's very impressive to me. How it does on tires, I don't think the tires enjoy it that much, if I'm going to be honest. But so far, it's looking like it's working for him. I think that's a blue flag they're going around. I think that's the Intel Lamborghini of McLeod. So we do have a couple Lamborghinis in this split, but as we saw, the Lamborghini down the straight, not very strong as well.
Just came out of the pits, not ideal at all for that Lamborghini. Tried to do their best. My team looked like they were held up a little bit on the exit of turn 2, but didn't lose a position at the very least. And it's all starting to congregate a little bit, isn't it, for this overall battle between P8 and all the way down to what I think is P13 as Hong there in the number 9 McLaren, heading the tail of this field. Luke Marvel, I don't think he's really going to, definitely not close enough. Even we know that Lambo's pretty slow in the straight, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to threat into scenes this time around.
Yeah, let's see what Luke Marvel can do. We've seen he's been absolutely flying out there. Perhaps not this lap. I expect him to challenge for a move again in the next couple of laps, as we're back again into that three-way battle. And it's looking like they've spread out a bit. It's looking like Jack Miller. As we see Turcolini do a bit of a drift in the Porsche, but manages to catch it back. That was very pretty to the eyes. Unfortunately, Turcolini does get a DT for track limits, so that's going to absolutely ruin his race, and he's going to have to do a bit of a comeback drive after this.
Frustration we talked about it quite a bit, and it's Dessay having to follow that 296, pushing everywhere. Oh, it's Abdul Martin there. It's a little bit of a swapper in the mid part of this corner, trying to follow the BMW, carrying a little bit of extra speed. We are about 35 minutes into this race, and Dessay, the tyres are feeling a little bit second-hand. Is anyone going to take them the full hour, though? That's the question. But yeah, for Damiano Fercolini, unfortunately, it is very, I find it quite easy to get track limits here. It's so difficult. Umar Wafri, 15-second penalty for ignoring blue flags on lap 8. We talked about Wafri and like really setting themselves under the microscope of the stewards, race control, everyone, directors, everyone is going to be watching him. And still making sure he does that penalty as well. They'll be checking that replay with a lot of, I imagine. Again, Wafri, 15-second penalties for causing a collision on lap 10. We didn't catch that one, but I don't know what to say. I'm done. Case closed.
Unfortunately for that car number 30, we've got words from, I don't think the RD for this race, but one of the RDs for actually my RD, my race director, car number 30, actually got DQ due to accumulation of penalty points. So there's a lot more under the microscope that's been going on, like you said. But it's unfortunate that is race over for that car.
And to see him now.
But let's put that behind us as we're now looking at Mateen again into that battle. As we see Marvel now really starting to slide. So these sends, again, the rear end of that car is not very happy. Let's see if he can keep that McLaren behind. But Mateen really on his rear bumper now. So I think that sliding at signs has not helped him, as he's now going to be looking at probably doing his pit stop. We're about halfway through the race, so I'm expecting some of these drivers to do a pit stop right around now, but he won't be able to enter the pits just yet as he's gone wide. And I think a couple cars in the background have gone into pits, but this is now a battle for P9 between P8 between Mateen and Marvel as they go side by side into turn 1. And what did you want to say?
I was just saying Jack Miller was the car that boxed in all of that. And yeah, I'm still a little bit caught up on Wafri, but we're seeing now, Luca Marvel, he's doing well, but I think we saw those few slides as well, and he's really kind of coming unstuck now and definitely leading a train of mid-engine cars, to say the least, with a few McLarens and a Ferrari. But yeah, thank you again to Diabols and Ryan in chat as well, keeping us all up to date on everything that's happening that we don't see in the race, which as commentators is quite a lot because we're very blind.
Yeah, I don't have the mental capacity to be a steward, honestly. I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I'm not good enough for that, as again we do have a battle. Mateen looking around the inside, switches around to the outside. Marvel defending the position. They go around signs. In fact, we get a McLaren making a move around signs. Mateen again, he's weaving left and right, trying to make a move. He goes sideways, and they both go off track, and that's going to give the two cars behind the position as there's contact between Marvel, and I'm not sure which McLaren that was, but Marvel has had to pay the price for that one, as he's now under threat from an Aston Martin behind him, and I think that's the Aston of Michael Clark, looking to get another position for him.
Oh yes, Mateen went up inside. I saw it happening. It was a bit too much of an agent, and I think that was just one of the McLarens just trying to take its line a bit wide, to say the least, but don't think it was anything untowards, and I don't think Luke Marble was really at fault for any of that as well, but really unfortunate. But he is still going, he's still in the race, and somehow ahead of Mateen as well again. As we see now, he is boxed, so he will. I think that's quite sensible. Everything going on, I think that one's quite sensible. I'm surprised we didn't see too many people behind him actually boxed to get out of that train, because it was costing everyone time, I have to say. But thankfully, I think damage will be minimum. Dare say any damage is going to come from the stewards on that one. But I think it's C-Bucks that we were on board with just then, before 2 cars ahead of us now in the sort of silver and blue McLaren. Did come out pretty well in that one, gained a few positions ahead of Mateen, ahead of Nicole Hong as well, and that was the McLaren as well that we saw contact with. It was Busk that was taking a bit of a wide line through both set. Definitely nothing intentional on that one. It was just a little bit unfortunate.
That was unfortunate, but perhaps it was a bit of a unsafe rejoin. Once again, I'm not a steward. I don't make the decision, and I'm glad I do not make the decisions. As we now have again a two-way battle between Hong and Mateen, and let's see if Hong goes for a move into Signs. It's looking like he's looking around the inside, perhaps trying to go for a move here. And he does go for a move. In fact, looks like Mateen decided to let off there. And it's the switchback from Mateen. He's going to look around the inside into the next corner. But unfortunately, he's not quite far enough alongside to make it move. And that will give Hong currently P9.
Kind of feel bad for them, but Lamborghini, I think that's McLeod there in the pink and white Lambo. It's just behind these guys because clearly got some pace, but unfortunately just kind of being a little bit held up, having served their stop quite early and therefore into traffic. And you see now Godfrey and Jack Miller here fighting for position, and Jack Miller falling behind Godfrey. I'm not too sure where Godfrey was in before the stops, but I dare say I thought Jack Miller was a little bit up the road. Maybe it's a tyre difference. Maybe they took 5 seconds extra to take the tyres. We shall see, and definitely it's going to pay dividends later in this race. It's getting closer to Honda as well. The ACC netcode doing its best to try and approach things on the straight, but the McLaren surely getting it done well before scenes as well. Already pulling past, already past the mirrors as well. And up and he gets the apex right. Godfrey doesn't really fight things too hard as well. Don't go too wide. We talked about those funny things that Gobby can't remember the name of on the exit there, getting the track limits, the little flaps that are of doom to say the least. And speaking of doom, therefore is Godfrey's livery is therefore just turn your mirror off if it's behind you.
It's just honestly a classic Godfrey livery. At this point, I think I'm starting to finally get used to them. But yeah, I'm surprised these two are side by side. They have both done their pit stops and they're in the same position. So it's either Godfrey, because he started around at the back, it's either he has made a gig ascend up for the field, or Jack Miller has done a bit of a mistake in his pit stop and has lost all his time. But we will see once the rest of these drivers decide to pit. As we see at the top, look at that, 2, 3, 4, 5, all Ferraris, followed by a Lamborghini and followed by another Ferrari. So Ferrari obviously a very, very strong car here.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And I think kind of looking at those times as well, Richard's time to maybe come a little bit back at Barker, potentially, with 1.5 seconds difference between the two. We saw he was kind of falling off a little bit. That said, he wasn't letting Barker escape too much. We just saw Fercolini definitely had more pace than Ricciardi, and Ricciardi comes into the stop to get his serve done as Mateen there with a 10-second penalty for collision on lap 15. I believe that's what we saw as they kind of went for that send up into Bosset as well with a good run off scenes. And I did think at the time it was a little bit, they were kind of like sending it a little bit too close to the apex, to a very narrow entry. And the problem is with narrow entries, you just end up understeering, and unfortunately there was a car on the outside.
Now Mateen does get a 10-second penalty for a collision, but he's now got other things to worry about as Clark is right on his gearbox in the Aston Martin GT3. Actually, beautiful livery from Clark as well. I find it very interesting. But let's see down the straight what the Aston can do. I heard the Aston is not the greatest down the straight, but it's not quite as bad as the Porsche. So I think if he is close enough, he can make something work here. But he does go very wide there. Look like he's doing his best to get a good run down the straight, but Clark is right there. Let's see if he can catch him by the end of the straight. But McLaren is also pretty quick, pretty slippery, as you said. So let's see what these two can do. Perhaps they're going to go too wide at signs, but it's looking like the Aston doesn't quite have the legs to catch up. He does get a bit closer, but just not close enough to make a move right here, as we do get Pip now going into the box to do her pit stop. So let's see where she comes out once that's done. As Mateen does manage to hold off Clark for another lap, but the 10-second penalty, once he does go into the pit stop, Clark should be well ahead unless he has a massive mistake.
Yeah. Definitely a little bit under the radars, Clark, as well. Obviously, we've had a few cars boxed and may have gained a few positions on track. may not be for net positions as they're yet to serve their stop. We're seeing a few cars in now, and it looks like Martin also coming in. As we saw David D. Barker as well jump in the box. Bakita, I think they had 12 seconds last time I looked, and that was several laps ago over Jacob Maggs in the 86 car. So I wonder if they take tyres just for the fun, just to set a few more purple laps. I wouldn't be too surprised by Philippa as well on that one. Serves their mandatory stop, gone green, gone up the pits as well for the 326. As see Jacob Maggs here running down the back straight on pretty close to each other, technically, but on other parts of the track.
Yep, sorry I zoned out for a bit there. I had a bit of a call. But Magda provisionally in P1. Obviously, he's not going to hold on to there as Pip does come out in P7. Still with the fastest lap, and Hislop currently in P2. I'm actually curious if Hislop can catch Jacob Maggs. So he's only 2.6 seconds behind. So could potentially get a P2 finish here as long as he keeps it on track and gets a bit more pace out of that Ferrari.
Definitely something to keep an eye on as they both serve those stops. I will it to happen, but they're saying things they've kind of fallen away from each other. But speaking of which, Barker and Ricciuti, they're kind of a little bit closer now that they've served their stops. Obviously saw Barker box fairly recently, Ricciuti a few laps earlier. I'm not too sure what these two would have done, whether they would have taken tyres or not. I dare say, tend to see the drivers towards the top of the fields take tyres unless they can really get away with it. Definitely, if they're going to lose track position and can't get an overtake easily done, depending on what car they're in, then it's very unlikely they're going to take tyres just for that sake. Let's see David Barker now as well, a little bit ragged. Dare say things. Oh, as Ricciuti definitely got the better bite on the inside line, but can't get there quickly enough. You can't really just send the nose, and you kind of need to own the space as well if you want them to give you a racing room. And it's to dare say, even if you get to the inside as well, the car, if it can hold it around the outside and then have the inside for the next corner, which is much tougher to go around the outside of. But I see now David Barker as well. It's kind of a bit under threat. You obviously just came out of the pits, dare say, a lap or so ago, so might be still trying to find their feet. And obviously Ricciuti's benefiting from the slipstream as well down the straights. A little bit of we'll still be getting a little bit of dirty air, but depends. I don't know. Obviously, you feel it a little bit. Some cars deal with it better. Ricciuti definitely looking a little bit more transformed this second half of the race than he were in the first half.
Yeah, it's looking like he's actually managed to build quite a healthy gap. I am apologizing if you can hear that in the background. Those are very happy dogs. I think you're going to need to keep commentating as we do have an incident here. No, he does actually have contact with Pip. So I'll be right back.
No worries.
What's going on?
I believe that's the car 50 of Iman as well. The AM car and the Aston Martin just went for a little bit of a spin there, as we saw. I think Callum Lloyd in the Audi did go for a spin as well. We're on board now. Yeah, Philippa just behind these two as the Aston starts to spin. I can see the front tire is locked, but unfortunately just kind of understeering. And yeah, Philippa kind of does unfortunately make contact, runs over the front splitter. Oh, as these two are dicing the battle, as Ricciuti goes onto the apron on the inside. Technically off track, we might see if anything might come of that as they hold the inside line through scenes. Now to both set. Barker is going to be ahead by a car length and got a whole thing outside, but going to run wide, really scrubbing that front left. There, Ricciuti on the inside now. Loses out on the exit a little bit though, coming into the next corner of Bender. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to get this done from here. It's a really good effort there from Ricciuti, but interested to see them go on the inside apron there, and hoping, we cut back to Philippa and Bakita as well. Hopefully didn't get too much damage from that contact with the Aston Martin lapped car. Hold on now as they go into the last corner as well. David Barker doing a lot to try and hold off Ricciuti here. I wonder if Ricciuti's kind of finds some pace, found a bit alive, kind of come, shake the rust off a little bit between seasons. And I want to see where they are relative to Hislop. I don't think, they're quite a bit up the field. So car 18, you can see that on the track map, just getting down to turn 3. And then coming now, as as well for these guys. So just see what Ricciardi does this time around, if he can get the same kind of slipstream effect on this lap. We do have a yellow Porsche and a blue flag car. I think of a gamble. Will hopefully not interfere with this battle if they catch him. We'll see what Barker does this time around. So a lot to defend. He kind of came off a lot to defend from him this time around. Just to see them now onto the straight. Good distance as well for Ricciardi. Not too close. Don't really catch him too early. We'll see as the Sofa King slow Ferrari catches ever so slightly, inching closer and closer, tucking under the rear wing. Because we run up here. Barker's already moved to the right side. He's properly covering off now. You're not going to the inside of me this time. As he goes to the outside, does Ricciardi. Gonna try and go for a run around the outside. Gives lots of space. Arguably too much space. 2 car gaps. And does hold it around the outside. Still overlapped along with the rear wheel as with Barker. But Barker's going to run them out wide. Take the natural race in line. And give Ricciardi no option to retaliate on that one. And it's going to be this time again for the 2 Ferrari drivers.
And as we see Felipa getting a 152.8 on the race pace, so she has only gotten faster since her pit stop, even after a little bit of contact, but it does seem like she managed to get out of that well and clear. It could have gone a lot worse, and perhaps could have... I don't want to... Obviously, I don't want incidents to happen, but if that incident did happen, she ended up spinning. We could have seen a very interesting chase up back for the lead and make it a bit more interesting for the P1 position here. But it's good to see that that has not happened, as we see Ricciardi now looking for a move into turn 1. Barker just, they almost touch bumpers actually there. Ricciardi had to check up a little bit, as we do get a 5-second penalty for an unsafe rejoin from Zolamam, the number 50. But it's only a 5-second penalty, so it must have been very, very minor. But the battle between these two.
Philippa had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably. Yeah. You're right about that.
I'm not sure if that was an unsafe rejoin, I will say. We'll leave it to the stewards.
We'll leave it to the stewards.
He didn't really leave the track, but anyway.
But now this battle between these two is really starting to heat up. Ricciardi does seem to have the pace over Barker, but Barker doing everything he can to defend his position. But it's hard to defend here at Mistral, but it doesn't look like Ricciardi is close enough to have anything meaningful out of the slipstream. It's looking like Barker's going to hold off there, but Ricciardi does seem to be getting a little bit closer every single meter as they go around into signs, and Barker manages to stay ahead and keeps the position for now. Goes at the limits of the track limits here, but we now have Busk onto Clark for slipstream, and it's very much at the start of the straight, so he's going to comfortably get around the Aston Martin there. The Aston not being the fastest down the straight, but if we look behind, we've got the Honda of Brock Godfrey, which managed to make his way back up to P12. He's going to want a piece of that cake as well, as he catches the Aston, and he's looking down the inside, and it's a very late lunge from Brock Godfrey, and they're still side by side into the double right here, but Clark manages to hold on as much as he can, but Godfrey does have the inside and does break track limits and does have a bit of a Honda thing happening to him, and I think he might have hit the wall on that one.
Oh dear, the Honda does Honda things. We get the replay there. Thank you to Benning. So Cino goes up the inside. He's kind of just got the nose there, and the Aston Martin's giving him the space. He finds the inside, get way too much curve, finds the yellow sausage curve, and unfortunately spins around, and definitely one of the shorter wheelbase cars. As we see the eyes on the left-hand door just giving us a look there. Not sure that was really intended. Oh dear, is the Aston Martin in the background. Cuts across the track as well, but hopefully not affecting these guys too much. Oh, very wide there from David Barker. Didn't necessarily lose too much time as you kind of just round off the entry for the next corner actually quite nicely, but has definitely built a little bit of a gap. But yeah, unfortunate for Godfrey. They plummeted all the way down to P17. I believe they were fighting, was that Michael Clark? So that's from P11 to P17 with just that one spin. Obviously was stationary for a fair bit, but pain there for Godfrey. Painful Honda things.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that one. Honda things. But we're not looking at Damiano Turcolini. I'm not sure what happened to Damiano, because he was in the top 10 and now he's all the way back into P16, and that's after everyone's done their pit stop.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, right. He did get a 10-second penalty.
Not a drive-through as well.
Oh yeah, he did get the drive-through. I completely forgot about that. But now he's got a lot of catching up to do, as he's trying to catch the Ferrari of Noah Reinhardt. We saw that Ferrari get into a bit of a scuffle at the start of the race, but they've managed to fight back up to P15. So that's a very strong performance from the King-themed Ferrari. If you've never watched Cars, even as an adult, you should watch it again. It's a fantastic movie, and it's one of the reasons I'm into race cars. So thank you to the movie Cars for that. Fabulous movie. But yeah, the Porsche not quite having the legs once again to get him on the straights, but he's got a lot of corners ahead of him to try and make a move there, as we now have Jack Miller looking for a move onto Eamon Siamem. Apologies if I butchered that name, but he's got other troubles of himself, as Hong behind him is looking to take that position from Jack Miller as well. So we've got another three-way battle here for P7.
Yeah, definitely between Siam, Miller, and Hong as well. It seems to be a good race as well from Hong, and let's say Siam, they haven't really been involved with too many incidents. Jack Miller, I thought, I think I swear they were a little bit ahead of all this slot, but maybe they've lost out a little bit more in the pit stops than we thought. Come back now to Dave Young at Fercolini going around the outside of the Dynaco legend of the Ferrari. Not too sure really if Ferrari is the best car for the King personally. Has to be front engine, surely. But gonna be a little bit deja vu though for Fercolini, having to follow a mid-engine car again, a Ferrari no less, down the straight in his unfortunately his Porsche. He's now to Jack Miller following the Ferrari of Same, and apologise as well in case I get these the name pronunciations wrong. McLaren pretty slippy in the straight line, especially when he had some slipstream. Pulls out of the slipstream of the Ferrari, goes up the inside, just edging a little bit closer. I'm not sure if he's run out a little bit of the overspeed. He's going to hold that inside though, and brakes late. Holds onto the position, demands it from the Ferrari, and Nicole Hong as well come right through all of that and gained a position as well. So -2 for Saim there.
As we're now back with Damiano, it looks like he has managed to get a bit of a better run here, just not good enough to make a move around Sainz, but he's going to put the pressure onto Noah Reinhardt, and Noah Reinhardt looks so far looking like having nerves of steel, not falling for the pressure. But as I say, that goes a bit wide there, and Turcolini going down the inside, and Noah Reinhardt goes way off track there, and that looking like move done for Turcolini, but he's not letting it go as he's trying to fight back. But Turcolini does manage to get the position, and unfortunately for Noah, he's going to have to lose that one, but there's still 11 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Let's see if he can fight back. But Turcolini slowly but surely fighting back up the field. But now we've got another battle here, another battle for P7 between Nicole Hong and Jack Miller. Nicole Hong being on Jack Miller's gearbox for the last couple of laps. It's looking like he's lost a bit of a gap, but he did manage to make an opportunistic move onto the Ferrari as well, and manages to stay behind the turquoise McLaren. And let's see what they can do here as they manage the last couple of corners before Mistral, and let's see if they can again use the slipstream to get around the McLaren of Jack Miller, as we're now back on board with Luke Marvel. Luke Marvel being in P15 after that incident, slowly as well moving back up the field. Now they've got the Aston of Michael Clark to manage, and I think that's move said and done. I think that's about a 0.2, 0.3 slipstream from the McLaren, so that's going to be a gigatoe. I was gonna use another word, but I decided not to. A gigatoe from Michael Clark here, and I'm expecting him to do a move about halfway through, right about here. Yep, he's going now. He's looking down the inside. He has the overlap, and it's going to be too wide at Sainz. And we've seen Luke Marvel send it at Sainz multiple times, and he does his signature move, goes a bit sideways. Full commitment, and it's been working for him throughout this race, and it's worked for him again as he does go a little bit sideways again. Perhaps not the tire whisperer, but with the commitment he has with that car, it just seems to work.
Yeah, definitely committed, not afraid to attack anyone and defend from anyone as well. Love to see it from the spirit from Marvel as well. He may not have had the most perfect race, but he's definitely had lots of airtime tonight. Looks like Bank is the next one to kind of give Michael Clark something to think about, as we all vesting for the best of the rest outside there. Luke Marvel actually, I'm not too sure if he got a horrible exit or just let them move past, but he's going to fall behind these two as well. So Clark and Bank go through ahead of Luke Marvel. might get a replay on that one to whether that was actually a redress or I'm not too sure because I don't think there was anything to warrant a redress. You see now, Bank here.
I think he's done a bit of a mistake actually, because he did lose 2 positions. I don't think he was redressing. There was no reason to redress there. He did not go into contact. As we do get a we don't get a replay yet. We get a replay now of what's happened as he goes around the final corner. Oh, it looks like, yeah, he does a bit of a spin there, but manages to keep it together. But that is why he lost out on 2 positions there on the start-finish straight. That Porsche really squeezing him there, just letting him know, I'm right there and I'm not giving you any room. And that's Tarab Bank. His son actually winning the Academy race yesterday, so congratulations for him as he goes around the inside of the Aston here. We've seen the Porsche of Turkalini not having the legs down the straight, but it's looking like Tarab Bank perhaps running a bit less wing, making use of that straight. And Luke Marvel again getting back around Michael Clark, and once again just fighting. He doesn't want to give these positions up. He knows he has the pace, and now he's going to be showing the front end of that BMW to the rear end of that Porsche of Turab Bank.
Yeah, definitely a textbook move there from Bank, and great opportunities as well on Luke Marvel's part as well. Turab Bank, you had seen, obviously Fercolini definitely struggling the Porsche to kind of get a move done. Not sure if the Aston was necessarily that much slower than the Ferrari down the straights. A bit front engine a little bit draggy, but I always thought the Aston Martin was okay. Obviously, maybe down to wing levels, but played it perfectly, pulled out, and didn't overshoot out on the outside line through scenes, and just held the position nicely. And Luke Marble, I dare say you have to watch for Luke Marble because he has shown pretty good pace when he, dare say, not going sideways too often. I hope he has enough tyres for the last 7 minutes, as we did see him fall off quite dramatically at the end of the first stints, but I dare say he looks a lot more in control this time around, cutting out through these last couple of corners into the same moment. And the BMW, dare say we don't really have a lot of data on the BMW. It's kind of a little bit like the Mercedes. It's a decent car, but dare say might be quite privy to the BOP. But Tarab Bank here built a very good gap, at least dare say 4 car lengths in that one between these two. And I'm not sure how much of a draft necessarily the BMW is going to get. Half a second though, so we'll be getting something. I think it looks a little bit more from this FOV. The distance looks a little bit longer from this FOV, but the BMW really not making any
weaving there.
Yeah, a little bit.
He might get a bit of a warning there. He's not allowed to do that. He gets 1 move and that's done. So hopefully the race director will just let him off with a warning. But if he keeps doing that, the stewards will be looking at it and perhaps giving him a penalty for weaving. And we would not want to see Tarab Bank get a penalty for that. He's been having a fantastic race himself. But we're now back on board with Turkalini, currently still sitting P15. He's got another car to manage, and that will be the Aston of Ben Oliver. In fact, he has 2 Astons in front of him, Ben Oliver and Michael Clark. So let's see what Turkalini can do in the closing stages of this race. As I say that Ben Oliver goes completely off track, and that's just a freebie for Damiano Turkalini. I'm sure he would not be complaining about that one. Someone that would be probably kicking their rig would be Ben Oliver. I would myself be quite upset doing a mistake. As we're back with Tarab Bank, still ahead of Luke Marvel, and in fact looking like he is pulling away, so taking full advantage of this Porsche, and that will be in the corners, making sure he's got the gap in the Mistral straight to make sure that BMW cannot catch him. If he stays around 8/10 ahead for Mistral, he's clear. I don't think at 8/10 that BMW will be getting enough of a slipstream to be able to catch that Porsche. And yeah, that Porsche looking like getting better exits here, and that gap just looks wildly big. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel doesn't even get a slipstream from this one.
Yeah, 1 second gap, I dare say they'll be getting very, very little. We didn't really see much game when they were half a second. So yeah, definitely a very good driving here from Tarab Bank, getting really good exits obviously through turn 3, 4 and 5 onto the straight. And we saw Fercolini obviously kind of played to his detriment almost, because he was kind of too close to the Ferrari coming onto the straight because the Porsche is so strong through those sectors. But Luke Marble might have something to worry about as well if he's going to fall back into the clutch of Michael Clark. But yeah, we see Ricciuti and Barker as well. Looks like their battle has not resumed as Barker has been able to hold Ricciuti at bay. Hislop as well, still only 2 seconds away from Mags. And Bakita 22 seconds ahead of those guys. So whatever damage she did get from the Aston Martin contact with the blue flag was not affecting her pace whatsoever. Oh, that's quite why Turbobank really opened up the steering wheel, but I dare say that's probably a warning for sure from the Porsche, especially if you're 4 wheels over.
Yeah, you could say he's banking on it.
I'm gonna leave you with that silence. Chat.
No, he's been having a fantastic race. And talking about Felipe, maybe that contact actually made that Mercedes faster, removed a bit of a body panel, it's a bit lighter now. It seemed to be side damage, so maybe that Mercedes now is a bit faster. But Luke Marvel not really having an answer to Turab Bank, but it's looking like he has managed to close the gap a little bit, but Bank's just been so good on exit here. But as I say that, it looks like he's a bit closer to the Porsche now, but I don't quite think it's close enough to make a move. And Bank probably trying to hunt down that McLaren of Busk, but he is 8.5 seconds behind. I don't think that's enough time to catch the field ahead. So what he should be focusing on is just holding on to that position and try to fly in the distance from that BMW, and that would be P11 secure for a Bank.
Yeah, definitely looking to consolidate that position. Pretty strong result. Not too sure where they qualified, but it's going to be P2 in their class in pro overall, headed up by Saeem in the 25 car. The Hong Kong as well, P8 as well, doing a good job, but not being able to threaten Jack Miller too much. I have to say Underwood's done a pretty good drive amidst that they were kind of all in the battling with other drivers. They haven't been on their own, but been able to hold down P6 pretty well. Quite a bit of a gap, I have to say, to P5. Not too surprising with the caliber of drivers ahead of them. But Lamborghini, Paul Ricard, definitely not the easiest thing to kind of stay ahead of the competition.
I know he is running a 4-wing setup, so he's trying to get as much as he can out of this top speed of that Lamborghini, while still being competitive, manageable in the corners. But so far it's looking like it's working for him. I've been talking to him a bit about his setup, and he says it actually feels fantastic in Sector 3 and Sector 1. It's just obviously the weak spot would be Sector 2, and that's Sector 2 is basically just a straight. I mean, there is 2 corners there, but they're flat out corners, so Sector 2 is just a straight. And as we do see Bank make a bit of a mistake here, and now that will give the opportunity for Marvel to try and go for a move, but he still manages to ever so slightly hold on to the position. Unfortunately, there's a very long straight coming up, and Marvel is right on the rear bumper of that Porsche, so there's not much Bank can do here, but perhaps try to defend, become the minister of defense somehow down that long straight, and stay ahead of the BMW somehow. I don't know how he's going to manage to hold on to that, as there is only 50 seconds to that race going on, and it's looking like they are going to have one more lap after this. But that BMW really starting to close, looking around, weaving, maybe perhaps trying to scare the Porsche drivers, going for a send around the outside, goes a bit wide, but manages to stick it within track limits and gets the move done on the Porsche drivers. But there's still one more lap after this, and let's see if Bank can has an answer to that BMW.
Yeah, amazing move there from Luke Marvel and the BMW. Turab Bank was fair as well. Didn't just run it deep into the corner and just run into Luke Marvel. Gave the space, arguably maybe kind of arrested a bit too much speed, which kind of made Luke Marvel's move around the outside look that good. As we come now to David Barker and Ricciuti, I said that this battle kind of died down a little bit, but looks like it's re-fired up with only half a second gap between the two as they come now onto the Mistral straight. It'll be interesting to see if Ricciuti, it's only this lap as well. We've already hit 0. Philippa is has already gone through Brosset and not to bend the corner. She's only 3 corners away, so it is not going to be much longer. It has to be this lap done for Ricciuti, but he's a veteran operator. He won't throw the race away just because it's the last lap. goes to the outside, makes Barker defend, holding the inside line. He holds it around the outside, as does Ricciuti. Even Stevens going now into Bosset. There's going to be advantage for Ricciuti, but he runs too wide. He holds too much speed and ultimately going to lose out there to Barker in the Ferrari. It's going to be... We saw it deja vu 3 times now. Barker comes out on top through Bosset as Philippa Bokita dominates split green here at poor Ricard.
Yeah, these two, that was Ricciuti's last opportunity, and unless Barker does a massive, monumental mistake here, it's pretty much P4 secured, and P2 be Mags, and P3 be Jonathan Hislop, and it's looking like Barker does manage to just hold on onto P4, but that was very, very close from Ricciuti if he had managed to make the move stick. And we're now on Rob Underwood, the second non-Ferrari cars. We see the top 5 except for Felipe are all Ferraris, but we now have Rob Underwood taking a very well-deserved P6 in the first race of the season, followed by Jack Miller, which just comes around the start-finish, the final corner now, and will hold off for P7, followed by Hong. And Simon will be the first of the Pro-Ams, taking P9, and Busk will take the final spot in the P10. Unfortunately for Luke Marvel, he will have to settle for P11, but he doesn't look quite upset about that position. In fact, he looks pretty happy about the finishing position. P11, especially as his first race in sprints, I'm sure he's quite happy, as we do get Brock Godfrey sliding in the Honda. I think that'd be one of the drivers that are not quite as happy as they would be with their finishing position. Followed by who was that? I don't even quite remember. And then we finally have our own Matt Powell, the MVP of the race, crossing the line. I love you, Matt. Thank you for all the work you do behind the scenes. I'm happy you have some time to actually do some racing with us. I'm happy to see you on track, mate.
Absolutely. Shout out to all the drivers, all the personnel, all the race directors, Logan, everyone. Matt Powell, Diabols, they all kind of help put this race on, and we're helping getting a chance to race themselves as we cutting out to the results. So it's going to be Bokita ahead of Mags and Trupatelli, John Hislop, potentially on his maiden podium for sprints as well. Congratulations to Silver Class. Now it will be Rob Underwood, a textbook drive into P6 there, followed by Jack Miller and Busk as well for a pair of McLarens on the silver podium. And Pro-Am will be headed up by Saeem as well. I believe he came out P8 in the end. We saw Tarak Bang gave us a great show as well for the last few minutes. Michael Clark as well. Great to see an Aston Martin up there as well, doing well. And for Am, Luke Marvel, as we mentioned, potentially may get a podium, may get a promotion, I should say, in the M4, followed by Oliver and Bartoletti. Have to say, great racing overall. Good way to start the whole season. Looking forward to the next race.
That was a very fantastic race, and driver of the day for me, definitely Luke Marvel. What a fantastic debut. Could have been better, but it was not a bad result. None the least that he's not Am anymore. He's at least getting promoted, at least up to Pro-Am, perhaps even silver. He does have the pace. So let's see what awaits for him in sprints. But anyways, my name was Tim Go, commentating with Cameron Thistlethwaite, with Benjamin Higdon on the cameras. You were watching OR.
Hell yeah!